Bylaw Review Steering Committee meeting, November 21st. And the focus of this meeting is to kind of finish up where we were talking last time. We got through amendments to sections 1 through 4. We started on the ADU discussion. So I know it's going to be kind of the focus of tonight's meeting is kind of going through any questions about the ADU, the changes from the Affordable Homes Act, and then obviously, you know, if anyone wants, we could certainly go over section 7 and the floodplain changes as well. So I just want to go over first the email I sent to town council regarding a few different questions. So I think we were concerned last time about the possibility of an accessory dwelling unit having its own garage. That was clarified by town council that it's not likely we could prohibit that, but also that 900 square feet gross floor area would also be factored in. So if someone wanted an attached garage to an ADU, it's not really practical to do.
We have to go back to June's issue that we don't define garages as part of gross floor area.
We do.
Not the gross, so the town council said that it's the use that, so if the ADU is 900 square feet, if you decide to add a garage onto it, that's an accessory use to an accessory use, which is not allowed.
Okay.
So that's what I was worried about, but she said that you don't have to on this case because it's going what the state has, and that's 900 square feet of living space, and they can't add a garage onto it. And to the point you made last week, if you wanted to do an ADU and do a standalone garage, if that garage has to be tied to the main house, not to the ADU either, so you can't tie it to the ADU as well, because again, she stated the ADU is accessory to the principal, and you can't have an accessory to the accessory.
Right.
Yeah.
So she said you could actually put a 3-car garage onto the principal house, right?
Yeah.
So kind of on that subject, what I had thought was, I was wondering if we could limit the ADU to lot coverage, a certain amount of lot coverage. So if you were the 900 square feet, say it's 30 by 30, right? So what if you added, say, 150 square feet to that for lot coverage, and that would allow for something like a 6 by 15 porch or something like that, or allow for the steps?
But so we have that already included, so because it's already in our zoning, when you add an ADU to say any lot, you still have that cap of 40% impervious coverage. So if your ADU brings you right to 40%, you want to add on a deck or you want to add on something onto the side of it, you can't, because you're at that 40% now becomes a variance. Because that's the one thing, when it's under section 3, you have to look at what's reasonable restrictions, and as long as you have it somewhere else, that's why we can use the setbacks to keep it off the neighbours, and that's why we can use the use, and we can use, to that point, lot coverage. And the same with, it actually would be an effect in it if you're in an area 3 or 4 recharge. If you're at, so we have a stopgap of, not so much, you can go up to 40%, but we have a stopgap at 15% for the zoning board to look at it, make sure it's being recharged your water properly, and then you can go ahead and do it. So even in the area 3 recharge, if you're going to be taking what's there, say even if you're at 18% and you go to add an ADU, you're going to have to go for a special permit to the zoning board on the lot coverage in that area as well. So the standard zoning, underlying zoning, you can't override that with the ADU.
Okay, so say you had a principal house and then you had the ADU, right? And you're on an acre of land.
Yeah.
What I was looking to prevent is like another 20 by 30 roof over a patio or a deck or something like that. So, I mean, say, I know it would depend on the area that the house takes up, the principal house, but how much of that would be left over? I don't know if we could give an example, like, you know, I mean.
Well, no, so we have something on it that, in existing code, again, that we have already in our zoning, that if you put a deck and you put a roof over it, that's a different criteria than just a deck. Because now you put a roof on it, you could enclose it. So that wouldn't be allowed just by a regular zoning anyway.
Okay.
And that would count against the 900 square feet.
Yeah, once you start putting a roof on it, yeah.
Right?
Well, not really, because it's not livable space.
Well, it's not even say, but once you put the roof on it, that triggers our other zoning and other parts of our zoning, so we can use that to, because again, it's like when Patrick originally wrote the original ADU to take from the in-law from being special permit to as of right. He tweaked that, and people saying, oh, they can make a two-family, can do this, and we're like, no, there's other parts in the zoning and in the building code that back up that section. So we can use other sections of, again, building code, the zoning code. We don't have to put everything into the ADU, because otherwise the thing would be a standalone on its own, be massive. But we can use the other, so in our other zoning we do have it when it comes to covered porches in close, like a, because you could say, oh, it's not going to be, it's only going to be a 2-season porch. So it's technically it's not a fully habitable space. That's not counted. So we have that in our zoning that it will be counted. So it's really locking the 900 square feet into the house.
Okay, so you don't think we would have to limit the ADU to a certain amount of square footage of lot coverage?
No, because that's already with
Because-
the 40% impervious. It's
Right.
already, and 25% structure. So we have two categories. Not to catch up on that one. We have one that says 40% impervious, which is your garage, your house, walkways, driveway. If you have a pool out the back, you can cover a lot up to 40% in most residential zones. It's 15 GR. But we do have another gap below that at 25% that for structures can only cover the lot 25%. So if you have a 10,000 square foot lot, you're only allowed to cover the whole footprint by 2,500 square feet. So if the main house is already right there, and say your house was big enough that, just say you're allowed to cover 2,500 square feet and your house is already 2,000 square feet, now your ADU is already going around 500 square feet, because to go above that you're breaking one of our zoning thresholds, which would be a variance. So again, the ADU is a use, but you can't use that use to violate our other zoning criteria.
So Jim, as far as garages are concerned,
Mhm.
they could build a detached garage and just say it was part of the house.
Yeah.
Right,
So
and they
that-
don't, yeah,
yeah.
they could put it anywhere and say that, it's a,
Yeah, if
Yeah,
they
I
put,
mean,
again,
it's a.
people are going to say what they're
yeah.
going to say, but mass law protects you that way. So in 1 and 2 family, if you get a set of plans, because we always get this a lot, this town, and I've helped friends in other towns where they'll give you a plan of a house, single family home, and they'll write office, and it'll have size, closet, whatever, and people go, no, that's a bedroom. Mass law says, if they say it's an office, you have to accept it's an office. If they say turn it into a bedroom, then you can send violations, you can do whatever, but, because a lot of people always say, oh, there's a closet there, it's a bedroom. That's not what a bedroom is. So if they label it under plans what it is in a 1 and 2 family, mass law section 3 says we have to accept it. So if they say the 3-bay garage is tied to the main house, but one of the bays is going to be used by the ADU, you can't really enforce that. But you can enforce one that wants a standalone garage just for the ADU.
So the way it's written this way, if they have a detached ADU
Mhm.
and they attach a garage to that standalone ADU,
No.
but they
No.
say that garage is for the main house,
No, they can't.
they can't. So this
No.
is specifically prohibiting that.
Yeah,
Because that's what she said, it was an accessory to an accessory.
accessory, yeah. which-
I know, but if they say, this
Yeah,
is
but
for the
that-
main house,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
just
Yeah.
construction-wise, we've got a stone here, it's too difficult to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
it's
we
something,
can-
if you
that's what
want to
this is
attach
prohibiting.
it to the ADU, then honestly, that's the point, we'll have to, we'll say, no, we won't accept it.
Okay.
Then it's up to them to prove the town wrong,
Yeah.
which
Okay.
is going to be, that on that side will be
That makes
tough.
sense, right? I mean, if it's attached, then we're counting it as one,
Part-
and then
oh,
that
yeah.
Right.
takes away from the square footage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was, I mean, that kind of answers that one, of course. The other thing she brought up, or what we asked, you know, could we require limited site plan review for detached ADUs? And she thought that was reasonable and kind of made sense, particularly because a detached ADU is kind of a little bit of a different of a review process than like an attached ADU, kind of working as just like an addition to the home. You know, she saw no issue with that, and in terms of notification of abutters, didn't recommend a legal ad or anything like that, because then we're kind of going into like the special permit criteria or public hearing notice criteria, but you know, having them notify properties that immediately adjoin the subject property, didn't have any issue with that.
She said probably not across the street though, so,
That part I don't.
could that be an issue?
Yeah,
Um,
because sometimes the closest houses are the ones sitting right across the street from you.
Yeah, I mean, I can ask her why that was.
But the
I
other
can
thing
see
too is.
limiting the circle or something to the
Immediate
attractive
butters,
butters, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
across the street, that's the closest houses, really. They're the ones who see you all the time. You're looking at each other.
I think the only, I couldn't speak for her reasoning, but maybe because they don't share an actual property boundary.
but the other thing
That's
too is the
true,
ADU has
yeah.
to be in the backyard though, right? Doesn't it?
Yeah, the ADU is gonna be back first, but
Side or back.
Yes.
I would agree, like if,
That's true.
Yeah.
So it's more affecting the others.
the others, but still your driveway or something and the traffic from another house is gonna be coming towards you.
Mhm.
So
Lights in your eyes.
I could see if you're the directive, and the reason I can think of, not that she's thinking of maybe is, if this is my house and everybody butts around me, they're touching me. But if I have
Yeah.
a lot over here where it's split in the middle and you got two directly across from me, do you notify both of them? Where do you draw the line then? Unless that's why she was thinking.
I can ask her clarity there, but I mean, I think that's kind of where the thought process is, right? Because you're not sharing a property boundary with
Yeah.
the person across the street. But I can ask for clarity there, but
But
either
in a
way,
lot of cases, the house is closer to the other house than the neighbor is.
it could be. Yeah, it depends on the
Because
situation.
you're
though,
both
right?
30 feet away from the street, and you got the street, but you might have setbacks, but the lot's big enough, the house may actually be a couple hundred feet away. or
Yeah,
something, the neighbor.
But the ADU may be farther away from the house across
Yeah.
the street
True.
because of the constraints of where they
Right.
could put it.
I don't see an issue of not,
Yeah.
I think the,
Just
but
a
across the
immediate-
street should be I mean, just so they know what's going on or something
Yeah.
like that, you know, and maybe they have some input to it. So, and those notifications are certified though, right? Certified mail?
Yeah, we can have
So
a
that's
process with
what,
it.
yeah, so I talked to the
So we know
assessor's
they got
office. Yeah, so what we were gonna do is I'm going to, when the ADU gets in, we have an ADU permit on our system already. We're gonna tweak it because we have some requirements that were with our existing ADU. We'll tweak it again, so if they click standalone ADU, it's gonna do a Dropbox that they have to show us. They've upload a notarized letter from the assessor's office showing they got the butters. And then
Yeah.
once they upload upload the butters list and then give us the white tags that they've sent the mail out to show it was sent out, then we'll release that as the next step of the permit, so we've controlled that, and the assessors are working with us on that as well.
So yeah, I mean, that, because it's not typical public notification for like a hearing,
Yeah.
I guess we could kind of
We can control
how
the
that
permits.
looks,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But
we can make it simple, like that
Yeah.
they're not actually going out the way or anything terrible.
But in terms of the language, not to kind of open up the bylaw, so this is a section added as limited site plan review. I think it's section 4. I mean, we just could put the language, notification should be sent to properties immediately adjoining the subject property, and then we can find out from town council just clarity on, you know, why don't we include across the street.
Yeah.
So,
If the notification should be sent to director butters, that's what you have on the
Yep.
latest one.
yeah. But just for.
And the definition of director butters is considered across the street as well, or something, yeah.
Yeah, for the time being though, until we find out from town council, I might just, so notification shall be sent to, abutters, remove the word direct, immediately adjoining the subject property. And just, and if we get clarity and maybe there's confusion, we can just put it back to immediate abutters.
Yeah.
So that's, 4 point, I guess, E.
Yeah.
So short-term rental, we brought that up before, that was the next point, you know, we added it to our definition section. We could add it to the definition section, so we could add it to section 14, but she also said, if it's only applicable really to ADUs, we could simply define the term within the ADU bylaw itself and save the amendments to the definition section to the end of the project. I don't have a problem with adding it to the definition section only because we don't have an ADU bylaw, not ADU bylaw, I'm sorry, we don't have a short-term rental bylaw currently.
No.
So that might be something to
Useful.
just,
Wasn't
you
it?
know, yeah, there's no harm
We
having.
don't know if it's not affecting anything right now, but it may be useful in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
That's
thinking if you put
probably a
it
good
in,
idea.
Yeah.
I think if you put it in the definitions, would it open up to something else?
No, so the only thing on short-term rentals right now is obviously Airbnbs, which is the biggest thing. A lot of people, some people have tried in town renting out rooms and stuff for the games of the weekend. So we've shut them down most of the time because it's not in our zoning. But putting the definition there won't open it up to anything else. I think it actually will help because it's the whole point of an ADU is meant to be
Long term.
long term. You're just
Age in place.
It was pushed to say, look, we need housing. So if you're renting it for 2 nights a week, it's not really designed for housing.
So are we limited in what we can do, or do we have to have,
For what short-term rentals?
yeah?
Yeah,
I mean,
so-
it should be at least 6 months or a year, don't you think?
It's gotta be the state
It's the state
definition.
definition.
It has to be the state
Yeah.
definition.
And what's the state's definition? Do you
It's
know?
like, I'll bring it up once this works, but it's like chapter 164.
Yeah, it's all about
or
rent.
I thought you
Rented
said 30 days, that's
Yeah.
foolish, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's state, and I believe 30 years is federal as well, because we held a case in Brookline where the lady sued Brookline for civil rights over an ADU, telling what she can do with her property, but it didn't hold up. And that was the whole intent, was there was zoning over there in that area didn't allow short-term rentals. So her case didn't go anywhere.
So I guess going back to definitions, I mean, we had a definition section initially within the bylaw, and that's a holdover from the original in-law suite bylaw, because we
Yeah.
defined it in 2 different places. I really don't have a problem just removing the definition section within this bylaw, because it's already defined, or we will have it
Section
defined
14.
within section
Yeah.
14.
So we won't have to mention it in this?
Well, also, we don't need to mention it within the body of, I guess, section 5B2, because we already have it defined within section 14. So if anyone comes in saying like, hey, I wanna build a, 1,800 square foot ADU, we're like, no, it's defined within our bylaws and it's defined within the definition section itself. I don't think there's a harm to removing it, because you have it in one place, you have it in the bylaw. So, and plus, if we if we do define short-term rentals within section 14, not just the bylaw itself, then it's just a simple add the definition to part A, I guess, of the amendment.
Jim, where is it prohibited in the bylaw, the use of short-term rentals?
So we don't have it in our bylaw.
Oh,
So
okay,
if it's not in
okay.
our bylaw, it's not allowed.
Oh, that's the thing, we have it written within this bylaw, but we
We
don't
didn't
actually define
define it.
short-term
Yeah.
rentals.
No, on the ADU it's mentioned, but in our standard bylaw?
In our standard zoning bylaw right now today, we don't have anything in there.
Okay,
But if
I-
it's not in there, you can't enforce it. So that's.
It's not allowed.
Okay.
It's not allowed. The only 2 things that, and some towns do, some towns don't, is medical marijuana. If
Uh-huh.
you don't define it, can go anywhere. Adult bookstores, if you don't define them, can't go anywhere.
Okay,
Because they are too protected under the Constitution, under your amendments, or the First Amendment. So they are protected that way.
okay,
Um,
all right, I didn't see it, okay.
No,
so,
you'll
yeah.
never see it.
Okay.
That's it. It's never
Okay.
been, because again, it's a newer thing that came up, and also the new building code actually does has put in new code that's coming out in January, that if you were to say, because a lot of people down the Cape are looking at ADUs now for rental properties for the summer,
Yeah,
they're going to have to sprinkler them, which is a big expense for people. But if you put an ADU that's going to be used for short-term rental, you have to sprinkler it.
For a single-family home?
If you do, you attach it down
Really?
there, do a standalone. If you do a standalone, because you're using it as a business, not as a rental property. But if you're renting short term, it's defined as basically a motel or hotel. It's a business.
so then as we're rewriting the bylaw, we should
We
say
can add in that
exactly, in the use table, we should define that it's not allowed, or define where it is allowed, or?
I put in it, if we're going to this, I
If
would
we're
say
gonna define it,
I put in the definitions.
yeah, but what about the use table?
Well, it's not in there, so there's no need for it. So you can put a short-term rental. Again, that thing is, if you want to start putting things into residential homes, you're going to start adding short-term rentals. How many people? You're going to keep increasing. So a
Yeah.
lot of zoning, they leave out stuff because it's insignificant. So
Okay.
they don't want to put it in there because it can open. It's by loopholes in the background.
Yeah,
So
so you
sometimes
think
it's
it's better to not
not put it in there.
Okay.
But it also sounds like we can't be more restrictive to the state. hear that?
Yeah, to Ed's point where you could say,
Yeah.
well, you can't rent out for less than 6 months. We were
Yeah.
not allowed to do
So,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
to its point,
Or
so
it
this
could be more
was
restricted.
within.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying if we do,
Oh, go, sorry, you would.
so you're saying if we do a short-term rental, which is 30 days or less, you'd have to sprinkle it, but if it's more than 30 days, you wouldn't have
Then
to
it's a
sprinkle it?
living space, because then it's an ADU. It's designed for living as basically as a single family home. But if it's less than 30 days and you're renting it out, say weekly or nightly, now it's basically like a motel. It's a commercial use. So it's kind of like our parking down on South Walpole. They park and everything, but on a game night, to explain to people is your residential home is not residential home anymore. Now it's a commercial lot. Because they say like people park their cars there and they, oh well, I can fit a lot more cars here. Yeah, if you had a birthday party or something, people just park everywhere. But because you got a license, your house turns into a commercial lot and you have to follow the spacing. So even though you could wedge cars there, you're actually not allowed. So same with this, if you make it in short term and start used as a rental property for nightly or weekly, it's basically a hotel. That's a commercial use.
So they need like an aisle width, a minimum aisle width and turning
Yeah.
radius and stuff? too?
Yeah, so when we do the parking down in South Walpole, we go out and we measure up your lot, how many cars you want and where you're putting them, and we have to have, say a standard parking space is 18.5 foot long but 9 foot wide. And if you pack them together and they can all drive straight out, good, but if you need an aisle down the middle, you're keeping that aisle open. So where people before would like block cars in and just park them as a we're at the game for night, you
Yeah.
can't block. So I can leave at any time down there, come back if the Patriots are losing and I leave halfway through the game. I can be get into my car and leave without having to move people's cars around.
Sorry, I'm just bringing this up. So, yeah, so I think I'm okay with the idea of just moving it to section 14, short-term rentals. And so I just want to bring that, I mean, we talked about this last time, but just because the change to, I guess, section 1A of chapter 48 for the accessory dwelling unit definition, this is where it comes from. So it's subject to additional restrictions as may be imposed by the municipality, including but not limited to additional size restrictions, restrictions on prohibition on short-term rental as defined within section 1 of chapter 64G. So that's where this whole thing goes in. So how that definition would be is just gonna be as defined within general law, chapter 64G, section 1, short-term rental. Just only because I don't want to have something that's, you know, not enforceable. So that,
And how long could it be rented for? I didn't see.
I didn't
Oh,
see a
yes,
time.
It
frame.
doesn't say in this
Doesn't say.
section, it doesn't say in
It
that.
says somewhere else, right?
Yeah, it's another, I meant to get that this week, I didn't get time, but I will get that for you.
yeah, in terms of the limitations and how
Yeah,
it is.
and the
Which is
time
kind
frame.
of odd that it doesn't say
Is that in the building code or somewhere else? or-
No, that's in Staco, because that's how you break the definitions up between short-term rentals, hotels. So a hotel, you can only stay 90 days in a room, and then you have to move to a new room or you have to leave. So you
Oh,
can't
oh,
basically live in a hotel. Motels are different criteria, they're long-term.
Ah.
So hotels, 90 days, then you have to move. That's why with the immigration thing, the governor put the executive order in because she wiped out the use of what a hotel, so to allow immigrants to stay there longer. That was the intent, because otherwise you'd be violating the zoning.
Alright. The last thing she touched on, we brought up, do we need to amend section 13 to include ADUs? I thought this is interesting, she did not think we should. Well, actually, I'm sorry, she said we can do this, but she doesn't think it's necessary to require a limited site plan review in the ADU and in section 13. And if we're going to add the requirements of notifying abutters under a limited site plan review for ADUs only, she did not want to add ADUs to section 13, as that could lead to confusion as to whether notice of abutters is required for other uses. I don't know if anyone.
I say we add it. I mean, I think it should be there.
But it can be required in ADU.
No, like
Yeah.
the,
Yeah.
like I'm talking about in the section of limited site plan review, we
Yeah, yeah, no,
add
I'm-
like the
I'm talking
different, we
about that
just,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think we add it. Just the line of, whatever it is, where we just added for the stadium, right?
Or the stadium, yeah, section.
So the question I would have, is there something we would do differently for an ADU than is in the limited site plan review? That would be the question.
Other than notifying.
Notifying the butters, be the main thing.
Now, a
And
regular,
there's some criteria, but
I'm just gonna bring that up.
a regular limited,
I say we add it number 4, you know, according to section whatever.
6A, 13.6.
Yeah, 13.6A
4.
4. Because it's also not every ADU, we're saying only for detached.
Detached.
Yeah, so that way, there's two options, you can put it in this, or you can leave it, as Caroline was thinking, was in the ADU section itself, because we also have, if you look at the chapter 5 tables of contents on outdoor dining, that was changed 4 years ago now.
Yeah, we don't.
Like
we don't
2020
include
or
that within
2021.
here.
Yeah, so that's
yeah.
in there, but it's a footnote in the table, so if you look at the table for outdoor dining, it's allowed as of right.
Yeah,
But then there's a footnote underneath that table
Ah.
that says you need a limited site plan, but it's not in limited site plan chapter 13 at all anywhere.
oh, well, it should be.
Was that thing too, again, it's,
I would think it only would be needed if it was something different in the site plan review. Now, if we're asking them to notify abutters,
it's like, that's slightly different than
that's
what a
slightly
limited,
different.
so that's
So
why.
can that be put in the
Well,
ADU?
that's why I think Caroline was suggesting, why don't you just leave it in the ADU, then if someone reads the ADU, it'll tell them, you have to do a limited site plan, and here's your criteria.
Right.
Notify the butters,
Yeah,
and go through all our department heads, so it's contained in that. Because I think that's why she said, don't put it in here, because you're asking for something that's our limited site plan. And again, to John's point where he had, it's 2,500 square feet for a limited site plan, this thing's 900 square feet. It kind of contradicts each other. So I think leaving it, that Caroline said, and Patrick said, in just ADU section, it's standalone, because it's just specific for ADUs.
And then specifying what requirements are needed.
Exactly.
I would also say to, I guess, in the middle, by doing this right now, at least stating it within here, there's no harm, and also when we go back to amend section 13,
That we can't add.
cleaning that up, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And the same thing with section 5 and 6, you know, we got the table of use footnotes, which I find funny because they're just kind of random.
So that's the perfect example,
you know
the
what I mean?
outdoor
Yeah.
dining there is number 1.
Oh, is
Yeah,
that
and
what
then
it
we
is?
say like for accessory
Yeah.
dwelling units, it's the only one that has its own use section too.
Yeah.
So why don't we, like, we have adult qualified villages, there's no footnote saying go to section 10.
Yeah.
So all this is just kind of like little things that need to be fixed. So
Mhm.
if we just include it within the ADU section right now,
Mhm.
we can just change this when we
Yeah,
go
I think
through
so,
section
yeah.
5 and 6. And
because if
say-
you're gonna an ADU, that's all you want. You can
Yeah.
focus on that one section, so.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
You're not gonna be looking around anyplace else, and like you say, it could just be more confusing if it's listed here, so I would say
Yeah.
just leave it in.
And honestly, it's a brand new thing, there's
But
gonna
I
be
get
so
to
much
Sarah's
chopping
point
and
too, though.
changing.
It want to clean it up,
around,
but
so much chopping and changing, now other
there's no
towns that are
harm,
gonna hear
I guess,
stories
until
about this
waiting
and
to
that,
clean up
it'll
each
get
section
muddled up.
by
You just
section
put it
if
all
it
in
doesn't
one
interfere.
page.
Where is the?
Yeah, I just
footnote?
think if we're doing it, we should add it.
See footnote 1, just my example of the outdoor dining.
Yeah.
Yeah. but-
Yeah,
oh,
why didn't we do that at the time? Why didn't
Which-
we add a note to section
what line
13?
has
For the outdoor
Raised
dining?
four
Yeah.
on it, though?
Don't
We
know.
didn't see it?
I know
Oh,
that was
sorry, I think
Yanovich,
that's,
but
Yeah, and Ashley, they done it that way. They done it just to get it out, because the way it's written, which we can rewrite too, is funky,
Mhm.
that you had to go through a special permit if you wanted outdoor dining on a lot that had less than 1,000 square feet of frontage,
Right.
and you need a special permit on
You're
a
getting
lot
there.
with over
I
1,000
don't
square
know
feet of
if that's-
frontage. So you were going no matter which way it went, it was kind of, it's written weird.
Yeah.
And to have 1,000
More-
square feet
more
of
the
frontage.
cleaning up, right? That's
Yeah,
right.
I think the intent of it was, they put that with something like the
Yeah,
likes of
here
the
it is.
mall.
Ah,
What's the footnote for?
oh, it's right in front of
Yeah. Section 5 and 6 though are they're a mess. I
A
mean,
whole
we
beast.
had a conversation about this, was it yesterday or whatever, in terms of just like even how we define a drive-through is something that's
The
just,
ATM.
just say drive-through. It doesn't
Yeah.
say it's like it's,
Drive in.
Yeah. A window of dispensing food or goods.
Goods,
So just
yeah.
just call it a drive-through.
Two persons sitting.
Yeah.
Sitting or standing outside.
Yeah. But yeah, either way, I mean, I see the benefits to both, but I guess trying to understand Carolyn's thinking there, I think
Yeah.
that's why she's like,
If we don't do it,
Yeah.
can we create a master list of all these things, like, oh, when we get to that section, we'll do it?
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Definitely.
well, that's, we need to.
You
'cause
got
I
that,
mean,
right,
that's-
Pat?
Well, no, I think
Right.
we'll see it too, because we're gonna write some zoning here, and we're trying to get the ADU in, cause we're kind of time crunch, but I said, we'll get something that's 80-90%. We'll get people come in asking for ADUs that we haven't even thought of, and we won't even see it coming from the side.
Right, I know, I just mean like 9 months from now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we're at section 13, are we gonna remember, hey, we wanted to like add
Yeah.
that to,
Yeah.
I
like
think
just
once-
keep a
once we
running
see-
list.
Once we see a limited site plan, it's gonna come,
It
it'll
comes,
come
yeah.
right to you. You're not gonna forget.
Okay, I like lists, but okay.
And I'm frozen. Okay. Let's see if my computer wants to work. It does not. Sweet. Frozen. So let's just restart that. But that's okay. So yeah, I mean, I guess for right now, we'll just leave it as defined within this bylaw,
And that's it.
with a note to kind of fix
Yeah.
it. So I don't know if we wanna kinda go through section by section, it's probably the best way to do that, right now.
Yeah,
So definitions, it's the same really, that's the one that's there, it's just a few changes based upon, Carolyn wanted to include the section about and subject to additional restrictions as may be imposed by this bylaw.
So it's interesting looking at section 13,
Mm-hmm.
this limited site review, it says, there's 3 reasons, and it says irrespective of the 2 criteria
because
above.
this, yeah, because. we
And
haven't
application
updated
shall
that
not.
yet. Right.
So that's
So
already,
the last thing isn't probably in
That's-
the current bylaws, well, it's in the current bylaws, but it hasn't been edited, I guess.
Which one?
well, so in, it's
6A.
DA3, and then there's a paragraph right after that,
6.
irrespective of the 2
6A3
criteria
underneath that.
above.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
there was
so there was,
3.
it was, they weren't updated in
6A3.
sync. Well,
What section?
no, so it's 13,
Yep,
6,
yep.
A, and then right after.
Oh, this one, yeah, yeah, yeah.
3.
Yeah.
That showed up in section 4 too, if you remember, that was like,
Yeah.
it's almost like they didn't format it, they just kind of threw
But-
paragraphs in there.
And also, it doesn't make any sense, because there's 3 criteria above, not 2.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
which 2
the
do you
other thing
pick?
is, it's
You know,
the first 2, and then it's also the third one.
Yeah, but it
So
doesn't
it's one
say
of the-
that.
Well, no, it's because when they added
They didn't
the
think
stadium
about
overlay
it.
parking,
They
they
didn't
just
know
threw it in
that.
there,
Yeah.
they didn't actually
Yeah.
edit it.
So those are those things
Yeah.
that, we need to fix, obviously.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and I think
So
that's
it's gonna
kind of
take a
where
lot
I'm
of-
getting at,
lot-
where section 13 needs an overhaul as well.
Yeah, it's gonna take
or
a
at
lot
least
more work on
to remove
13.
these inconsistencies.
Yeah.
Because that's what we could take, because the the site plan for the stadium
Yep.
is one of those things you don't have to notify the butters, because all your neighbours already know. It's kind of very similar to outdoor dining, so to Caroline's point, we could actually take 3 out and put that in the section for stadium parking.
Explain it to me again.
So we're keeping the ADU limited site plan
Yeah,
in the ADU section.
yeah.
We could easily move that and put that in the stadium
Stadium.
parking section, and then we won't have to fix the 2 criteria above, because that doesn't apply to the 2 criteria, doesn't apply to that. Like the stadium parking was put in there
Yeah.
when it was approved, so they just moved down the paragraph that Phil is talking about.
Yeah.
So it says, so even if we said irrespective of the 3 criteria above, doesn't really make a difference.
Doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
So you could take the stadium parking and put it in with the stadium parking section under 10,
yeah,
and saying in there just say you need a limited site plan, like we are doing with the ADU.
yeah. No, right. I mean, that's
Just get rid of it out there and
Just get rid of it.
and leave the other one.
Yeah. I'll write a note.
You said stadium parking is under 10?
I believe it's 10.
No, it's 5 something.
5E?
I think. Wait a minute. Yeah, it's 5.
Is 5. Oh yeah, it's 5I. Sorry.
Ah,
So we could put it in that section just. In with approvals,
So they don't say that currently.
because it actually says that approvals in it right now is that application for a stadium parking shall follow procedures outlined in limited site plan review. page 40.
Page 40. Alright. Huh. So yeah, that's just,
It's kind of,
it's over redundant, which is a problem.
yeah,
but-
so we could take that out and it'll clean up 13 as well.
Yep. Do we have a footnote for stadium parking too? No, we have a footnote for, never mind, the outdoor dining.
No, we put that for outdoor dining and we put not for small and large daycares.
Yeah. Weird.
Well, small daycares is the one, because you can do it in your residential home up to once you hit 6 kids, it tweaks it.
Yep.
So I think it was put in there as a footnote because if you had 5 or 6 cars coming to your house first thing in the morning in a nice neighbourhood, you want to make sure they're able to go onto the site, leave their kid and leave without blocking the street up. Or
Yeah.
So we have that. I think that's why it was put in there. That's been there a while.
Makes sense. Okay. So we're all right, the definition kinda makes sense. I've got a note here to add a definition for short-term rental as part of the amendment to section 14.
So, could they be required to keep a log of their rental?
Keep it what?
Keep a log of
Of who
the
rents it,
rental
yeah.
units?
No,
No.
it's the same way with anyone renting their property, we don't get involved with that.
Because like you could legally move to Florida, retire, and rent your house out completely to a family.
Yeah.
There's no law that says you have to keep a log of that.
Yeah.
You can even rent a room. as
You
long
can rent
as-
your room.
Well,
as long
that-
as it's
yeah, you
not
can
a-
rent
as long
rooms
as
as
it's
well.
not a- Doesn't have a stove or,
You can rent
Yeah.
up to 4 rooms. Once you hit 5, you become a lodging house.
okay, yeah.
But but with the ADU, I mean, for the short-term rental, to make sure that they're not doing that, or,
No,
say
short-term-
somebody complains and say, hey, we get people moving in and out of here every week, every 2 weeks.
I think they would default to.
How do you, I know,
Enforcement.
but how do you,
He'll
We talk to
investigate.
neighbours and we look for any information, so we'll talk to the neighbours, and if all the neighbours saying it, then we'll ask the owner. And if he says no, they're not, then we actually just keep an eye on the house, honestly, and see that, are the cars staying the same, is there a turnover, is there an issue? And then what we do is if it's kind of that grey area where they're saying no, it's not, and we're saying, well, we've got some evidence that there's something going on, we'll send you a violation. My violation will start at $1,000 a day, because I have some evidence, and it's up to you to prove me wrong, and if you're not willing to do it, that violation stays in effect.
so that's why I was just thinking, if we had a rental log, it would be much easier for you to,
Because then you're you don't do it with other rental
Yeah.
properties, you wanna do it with,
Yeah, there's not, if there's
Just
something in our
a
zone.
thought.
Yeah, no, again, it's
Yeah.
that one thing, if it's in our zoning, you could, but without it, like with the ADUs, we could because we limited to the new one we have now, or the one we have now, we rent that to individuals, we have the third type of kinship,
yeah.
our family, so you can put that section in there, which we did, that every 2 years it got inspected, that you can block the door off to the house and turn it into a 2-family, we had all that criteria.
But that all went away.
We
That
can
all
take
went
that
away,
out,
yeah.
So, moving on to the purpose, so it might just be easier to read it out, because I know it's kinda confusing, removing all the different stuff, so, need to make a few changes here, I think I deleted some things without actually doing the strike through and underline, but, the purpose of this section of the bylaw is to allow the creation of accessory dwelling units on lots within a single-family zoning district are allowed specifically in order to provide property owners with an opportunity to age in place, increase diversity of housing stock by creating more residential options, and protect stability, property values, and the residential character of the neighborhood. Kind of reading that, does anyone see any edits there?
The first
Yeah.
one, didn't we say, like single,
Well, 'cause
allowed, single dwelling unit, not single family?
well, I think it's because, did we say single dwelling?
I thought we said, for, where are my notes?
so,
Yeah,
And the-
it makes sense.
Single family, it used to say single family homes are allowed,
That's a good idea.
but it's not, what Jim was saying is it's not only single family zoning districts. It
It's
applies to
single family.
other.
No, so single.
It is single family
It is single family
districts.
zone districts. That means anywhere a single family home can go. If you have 4 units, but you have an option, so like in GR, you can do a single family home, you can do a 2-family, 3-family, 4-family, whatever you have the room for. That's a single family district where a single family can go by right. In the business district,
Yeah,
you can't put them by right, you have to go for a special permit to the board.
for an ADU?
No, for
Single family.
for family.
Residential.
So you have to do business and do residential on the second floor, you have to go
Central
for special.
business district,
Central business, you do not.
it's allowed by right.
It's allowed by
So you
right.
can make an ADU,
Yeah,
and that's not a single family district.
no, but it allows single families.
I'm quibbling
No.
with
Like,
calling
where
it a
is it?
single family zoning district.
Yes.
Because you're telling me
Mhm.
it's not only single family zoning
Yeah.
district. So why are we calling it single family?
It seems like wherever single families are allowed as of right.
But central
Yes.
business district
Is
doesn't
not-
allow single family, it allows residential.
It allows-
And you told me that ADUs can go to any
Mm-hmm.
residential dwelling unit.
If I had a lot, say, it'll never happen in centre of town because it's not possible to do it, but it was just an example of what you can do. But say I go down and I buy TTs,
Yeah,
tiny little corner lot,
right,
I knock it, I
okay,
put my business on the first floor,
yeah.
for say, I take on Phil Mackey as a zoning guru for fun. I can pull a single family unit above that. As a by right, I don't need special permit from the zoning board or the planning board. I can put a single family. I wouldn't do it because I'm not that silly, because I can put 4, 5, 6 up there because I can go 3.5 times it.
Right, I guess I just quibble with your definition of single family. I wouldn't call that a single
That's not
family.
mine, that's Amy Questle and Caroline's. It's actually, I originally when this started, I even said to people you can't do it in
Bring it up
GR.
as soon as I can get this
Yeah.
thing.
Do you see what I'm saying?
I
Like,
completely see, I agree,
yeah.
I went that
I
way.
thought we went through it, and to
Yeah.
comply with the state and your understanding and the attorneys, we shouldn't call it single family zoning district. We should call it,
So,
No, so the state call it under the ADU.
so the
Exactly.
way I'm interpreting this, which seems like a strange way, is she's saying, or we're saying,
If it's a single
that
family
it can
home,
be in a
might-
single family district, but it doesn't mean it can't be in a commercial district.
if single families are allowed in that
Allowed.
district. So,
Yeah.
and again, single
But-
family, which I always go with, and
Yeah.
sometimes we can head, everything's a single family is what we all live in.
Right.
No, a single family dwelling unit is a single family that's got a sleeping, kitchen, cooking, sanitary.
But
If
this-
that's on the second floor, third floor of a building, it's still a single family if it's allowed as of right. So I originally, when this came out, I only thought like we had to worry about this in rural or A or B, and that was it.
yeah,
And then Amy Questle, who's KP Law,
Yeah.
and Caroline at KP Law, said, no, this is actually allowed in GR. So, as I said, the example I was using was, central business will never be happen, so it's kind of, I'm just kind of going that way.
yeah,
But say Stone Street here,
yeah,
there's a red brick building on the right there with 10 units.
yeah.
You can put an ADU in that if it meets the criteria of our zoning. That's 10,
I gotta
That's,
bring it up
uh,
because I'm still
Yeah.
questioning it while
So-
you're saying it.
It's just,
It says
it's-
single family zoning district.
yes.
where
Does
is that
include- Does that
defined?
include a commercial district then?
Yes, apparently.
If you're allowed
If you're allowed to-
residential
if you're
as
allowed
of
to-
right,
If you're allowed to do it
residential as,
Yeah,
so,
that's really kind of
But what does
ambiguous.
it matter as of right? So you
because
can,
that's what,
so in the business district,
yeah.
you can put residential above.
Which
It's
is-
not as of right,
Yeah.
but it's still,
So
you
that's
can
what the
put in a
state-
single family.
So the state ADU.
So why
that-
can't you put an ADU to that? Doesn't make sense.
No, because again, the ADU from the state level stated single family zone districts as of right. They have that in there. So if you can't do a single family as of right, you can't put an ADU in there.
Doesn't
Right,
make
and
sense.
so.
So think of it this way.
I
So
see, I-
think
I mean,
of-
I'm
Yeah.
hearing what you're saying, I just think it's
Sounds
a
right in my
bad
head.
way to do it.
and
it's
I think that
this thing was rushed through and
The
Oh,
ambiguity
it's
though, is a
cases.
single family zoning district is confusing if they're
Right.
saying
That's
you
what
can
the
do it
state
in
call
a
it.
commercial.
If it takes you
district,
5
that-
minutes to explain what it is,
Yeah,
it's a
so that's
bad
a-
way to do it.
I 100%
I would-
agree
I
with
would
it.
look at single
But my
family-
problem is I've been told like how to enforcing it, and that's
I
what
know.
we've been explained from KP Law. Again, it even got trickier because I got 2 different answers from
Two
Amy
different
Questle
attorneys,
and from
yeah.
Caroline from
Yeah.
the same
So
firm.
maybe
Yeah.
it just needs to be worded differently.
Well,
though.
they both agree on that,
That-
as long as
that
we're
works.
single families allowed, districts allowed, as of right, you can put an ADU if you have everything that our criteria that we're coming up with at once. My other thing was, well, what about if you had 2 single family homes? So you had 2 single family homes standalone on one lot, which is the principal unit. Technically, yeah. So if
You
I
get to
could,
pick.
so if you and Ed lived, Ed was one house, you the other house, you'd
Yeah.
condoed it.
Yeah,
Depends on how your condo fee was written. You own all the land together.
yeah,
Ed comes in and goes, hey, I want to get an ADU. I give it to him. You come in going, I want an ADU, and going, you
No.
can't because you're only allowed one ADU.
right,
You're going to be suing him over it.
yeah.
First come, first
So,
served.
Yeah.
so we need to take out the word "are," right? You know, within the single-family zoning district allowed specifically in order to,
Yeah.
right, so that's just a
So-
small typo. But,
Yep.
but also,
Actually,
so it doesn't say by
laws.
right, so you're just saying.
No, the state law says by right.
right. I
So it's
see. So
under
we don't-
Dover
so
Amendment.
we
But
don't
again,
have
we
to
gotta
say it.
spend 5 minutes explaining what it
Yeah,
means.
So we don't
Yeah.
have to say that.
Yeah, we don't have to, because that's actually what Section 3, the Housing Act
Yeah.
stated. It's as, that's why we're here and we're trying to get this down, is because,
I bring it up as soon as my computer.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
So Jim, Parkview right over here.
I know, I remember
What
reading
is that
in the
zone there?
actual
Right
law,
at the
it
corner
says
over
something
there.
about
Oh, yeah.
single
Yeah.
family,
Yeah, I think it's
but
GR. I believe that's GR.
I don't know.
But they don't have
I
it.
don't,
Actually,
I
They
don't
don't
like
have the one
it.
they can't.
So-
Yeah,
The
but
wetlands,
technically, if it's one
Another thing
building,
with this though
they
is,
could.
so EOHLC is also defined within the zoning changes, being responsible for creating guidelines. There's no clear understanding whether or not of when that is happening. So it puts a lot of towns in the position of, well, I'll make it as I can in terms of close to the law, but if, you know, the state comes out with guidelines similar to MBTA. But obviously this is different than MBTA, there's no requirement that we actually change anything, it's just.
So, that line on purpose there, I think I have a little bit of an issue with it. I almost think should say the purpose of this section of the bylaw is to allow the creation of an accessory dwelling unit on a lot within a single family. If we put the plural in there, would somebody think that, I would like to remove the S's from there, because we're only allowing one ADU on a lot, right?
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm
Although you
saying?
could interpret that, you know, there's many lots in a
Right,
district.
yeah.
I think I know
So-
what they were
I
saying,
think
they were
we're-
thinking for the whole
Yeah.
state when they were doing
I
this,
think it's
putting
clear
it
that
plural.
we say
But if
only
we have-
one.
Well,
But
we
if we have
actually
it in
had-
our
this is from our
bylaw, I think
bylaw.
it should be, a
So that
single.
purpose is from our bylaw, so that might have just been a typo in how we wrote it, because obviously the way we wrote it before, it was only one dwelling unit, it was only one accessory dwelling unit
Right.
allowed. The purpose of this section is to allow the creation of an accessory dwelling unit.
I'm just thinking if somebody read it, they said, oh, maybe I think I could get two on there, so yeah, it wouldn't be contradictory to another
Maybe. I
statement that we
mean,
have in there,
if
right?
you all feel strongly, I think, I mean, we
Well-
stated pretty, you know, clearly.
So, read to me how you think it should say.
Well, I would say the creation of an accessory dwelling unit
Yeah,
on a lot within a single-family zoning district. So just add "in" in front of accessory, right? And then take the S's off of lots, units and lots.
I think you need it on lots, because we're talking lots in
Yeah.
general.
that's kind of where,
Well,
Many lots in
plus
the
also,
district.
we already say it's only allowed
Right.
one per,
One.
so we're not,
Very
we're not
specific.
adding anything.
I just didn't want it to
Yeah.
contradict what we had already stated, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody read that, they're gonna think, oh, maybe I can get two on it, and then they could argue on
So do we
I
wanna
think so.
Save a little aggravation for
change
you,
the
right?
second
I'm
word
getting
into
aggravation
Right.
I
on
don't have any
lots
here.
where a single-family dwelling is allowed by right?
Hmm?
Is
So-
that gonna cover?
I found the article, so how the state law was written under Mass General Law 48, Section 3, to allow ADUs as of right in single-family residential zoning districts. So when I read that first, I went with,
So I got it up right now too, this is.
yeah,
changed to
single-family
section 3.
residential zoning districts. So when I read that first, I was like, okay, it's only allowed in, so if you
Right.
see fourth line down, end of third line, fourth line down, it says in a single-family residential zoning district. So when I
Right.
first read this, when it first came out, I was like, oh, it's only
Right.
single-family zone districts, that's RA, RB and rural.
Right.
Then,
Yeah.
well, even at times, I was like, well, if you have that's when I went to GR, I'm going, if you have 4 units, then that's not single-family, so you can't do it. Then Miss Questle, who's a lot smarter than me, came back and going, the state's definition of single-family residential zoning district is anywhere a single-family unit, one unit or multi is allowed. So again, I'm just using the CBD just as a complete
Yeah.
exaggeration.
Right.
Yeah.
But if I said to you, can I do a single family home in the centre of town as of right? The answer is yes. In the business district, to your point, can you do single family as of right in the business? And the answer is no,
No.
you need a special permit.
Right.
So that's where that comes in, as of right in a single family residential
Absolutely.
zoning district. So that's where with a multi-family where you've
So I
got
think that's
like over
where
here.
So, yeah, I mean, maybe we wait for the clarification, but ultimately, I think it should be more clear.
Yeah, it's
What
the purpose.
We're talking about, how there's this weird thing
Well,
with
besides
the.
that, I get thinking of just our bylaw, I think that's why it says within a single family zoning district, but how do we wanna write that so it's a little bit
Well,
clearer?
what if
So-
you, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, what if you put in parentheses after that, each district that it would be allowed?
So you always got to remember too,
Well, we actually, we already do that within the table of use. That's another thing, Jim.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, the
Catch that?
ADU,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cause we have,
So we have to amend that. Is that part of
I
the,
don't know.
this should be part of the,
I don't think we should have to amend that really right now until that's better, there's more clarity, that's my opinion.
so if we don't amend it, it'll be used what's
It could be,
in
'cause that's the
existence.
thing, yeah, because
So
we
that's
use
the
against
problem.
us, because again, this is a use that's been put in the same protection as a daycare and a church,
Right,
which are,
Yeah.
you ain't touching them,
Right.
they're bulletproof.
right.
So
right.
for us to put something there that says it's not allowed, so.
So
you
right now,
implement-
there's an
we can't
X
do
in
that. Or we-
CBD, so
we
we
could do it, but
can't, we
it's
have to
not.
adjust
So
that.
that we can clarify, I don't think it'll ever affect us over there, because you won't have the land.
I would want clarity from Carolyn, cause
On the CBD, yeah,
I
no
don't really
problem.
wanna change it, I think it's
So-
kind of,
so, yeah.
the intention of having
it's
it
X.
is within a
Yeah.
single
Oh, you
family
got it.
residential
Yeah.
district. These are
Mhm.
not, by definition, single family, industrial, limited manufacturing, highway
Doesn't
business
allow
are
them.
not
Allowed,
single family residential districts,
Yeah.
we don't allow it.
yeah.
Business and CBD are kind of, I guess,
Well, business is not allowed as a, as a.
we don't
right
allow it either, yeah.
Yeah,
And
so CBD, that's the only catch.
So maybe we need to update that though.
So the only thing we'd have to, if we get clarity from Caroline, if my nonsense is going right, then we'd have to put an A under CBD.
Yeah.
We should do that.
So we need to clarify that
Yeah.
with her.
Which is weird, but
Yeah.
if
It
that's
is-
what it is, then
yeah.
we should put it there.
Yeah, but again, so that's the point of, it says an accessory to a single family residential zoning, but you can add one to a 10-unit building. To me, that is weird as anything,
Right,
because I thought the intention was for a single family home to have one, but it is allowed to a multi-unit building.
right. Yes, but in our goal of removing inconsistencies,
Yeah.
let's remove
Clean
an
that one up.
inconsistency.
Mhm.
So, the purpose of the section of the bylaw is to allow the creation of an accessory dwelling unit. On any lot within a single-family residential zoning district.
Yeah, I'd use the state
Yeah.
definition. Because actually using the
So,
state law gives a
creation
bit
of
more
accessory
protection.
dwelling units on, I'm gonna do any lot. Remove the S on any lot within a single-family residential zoning district.
Mhm.
And then I'm gonna say in order to remove it,
So,
or allowed specifically.
You got a much different,
So, it's gonna say,
you've done,
now,
this
I'm
as a
sorry,
residential
just bring it
zoning
up,
district,
easier.
or did I just read it? Oh, right in here. Residential zoning district,
Mhm.
is that the same language as, it's not really the same as what we have up there, right?
No, so this is single family zoning district, this down here says all residential zoning districts.
Where'd you say that?
So use and regulations.
Yeah.
See how we have down here?
It says in all residential zoning
Okay,
districts.
yeah.
But up here it
Right,
says
residential
in
zoning
a single family
districts.
zone, I think you take the single family zoning
Right.
district and add it down
Keep
there.
it,
Yeah.
yeah,
Would you
no.
rather see that up there?
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll
it's
match the
gotta be
language.
Huh?
Match the
consistent.
language.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
is it different? You guys see
Yeah,
that?
yeah, it's a good
Mhm.
catch.
Which section was it?
So-
In number 3,
Yeah.
it says in all residential zoning districts, 1 ADU. So what if we had the same language in both?
Yeah.
Would that work for you?
Yep.
Huh?
Yeah.
Within,
Word to be equal.
so,
So a principal in the CDB, then a apartment building, that would be considered the principal dwelling, then is that the way it would
You,
work?
yeah,
You
whatever
pick one.
just the building is a standalone building is the principal,
It's
'cause
principal.
that's what it is.
So
It's-
one apartment or
Yeah,
something would be the.
But if you had, say, so take your last case you had, Brook Lane,
Yeah,
that's 15 single-family homes
yeah,
on one lot.
yeah,
Which one's the principal?
right.
They're all principals, so,
Right.
but you can't tax, so, and that's where
So you can't do it.
That's where KP have said two to us, and that's how tricky this is getting.
Yeah,
We've been told one way that if you have two standalone buildings on one lot, then they can't do an ADU because they say which one's the principal. There is no standalone principal.
yeah,
And another attorney said, well, whoever comes in first gets it. I'm more favour of sticking to if it's one principal building, then you can have an ADU.
Right.
If you have two standalone buildings, I'm going to say no because.
so is this
My
gonna-
backup will be, again, if Ed comes in for an ADU and Sarah hears about it and I go, well, Ed got it first, she's going to move my head.
So is this gonna take land court decisions to iron out some of these things, to define what?
I think there's
I
going
mean,
to be,
there's other cities and towns that are also trying to.
figure this out.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking,
Makes
well,
sense.
at the end of the day, the legal
Yeah.
Yes.
decision may be in a court, the
Yeah.
land court or some.
It
that's
could be
the-
on certain, so
that's the
some,
state,
it's like everything.
yeah,
If you say no to someone,
yeah,
they throw a hissy fit in their land and go and sue you and take you to court.
yeah,
That happens every day. Even if you come into me and you're 100% right,
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll still go, I don't like you, I'm taking you to court.
yeah,
And that's what happens a lot with zoning
yeah,
and denial. People will like again, people have taken me to the zoning board because they didn't like my answer, and luckily
Yeah.
so far, touch wood, the zoning board have backed me up on my decisions
yeah.
because
I'm just trying to look
But
at
it was
the
a
old- I
personal
gotta go
thing.
back and go look at the old one and make sure I have it deleted correctly.
So the protect
So
stability.
it's crazy if you have two buildings on one lot right
Mhm.
now. Wouldn't one have to be considered the principal and then the other, they're both principal?
because you've got two ways of doing it too. You think of either two standalone houses or think of a Philadelphia style. You've a two family detached. You could be the principal owner and rent out the bottom, and the land and everything's in your name. And then you said, okay, I'm tired of looking at it, I'm going to sell it. Most people, and because they get better money for it, if you decide to sell a two family, you will condo it. Because just by condoing something, and I've seen that happen before, just by saying going from a two family house to two condos, without doing anything else except calling it a condo, your value just raised 100,000 on each of them, easily, just by saying condo. Because people love that, because it's their house with their land. They're not renting from you because you're the owner of the land and it, because you can't split the land for each unit without condoing it.
I know we probably can't, but could we have language in there that if there are more than one principal building on one lot, an ADU is not allowed?
I wouldn't put it in there just for the fact that two attorneys at KP Law go ahead, they're saying different. So if they're arguing at their level,
They don't know either.
yeah, they're kind of saying they're interpreting it differently at their level, and that's what their job is to interpret this.
So is it likely that
It's
the
confusing,
state will
right?
make
You know what I mean?
an interpretation and issue a,
I believe they are. I think one of the other ones the state are looking into, which I think they will vote down, and we won't. I'd enforce it too. Here is condos. So people have been asking, can you condo an ADU? There is nothing that says you can't do it. My defence on condo an ADU is the whole intent of an ADU is accessory to a principal. If you condo something,
Right.
it's a standalone building.
yeah,
So if an ADU gets standalone, then it's not an ADU.
Yeah.
So now you have created officially two separate dwelling units on a single family zoned area. That won't be allowed.
Without a special permit.
Yeah, and I don't think I don't think the state are going to allow them to be condoed either, just on the fact that you're selling these as, and you're taxing these as not a dwelling unit. So if you put this on your, when you're a single family home, you're taxed, I believe 104 is the article. If you build a standalone ADU, you're still taxed as a single family home, just with a very fancy addition. Because it's not a second family, because they can't call it that, because if they call it a second family, they have to admit they wiped out single family zoning, so they never will. They'll call it an ADU, so that's why I think the condo thing you have some ground to defend yourself on the condo side of it, because
Right.
again, condos are standalone.
right,
So I think you'd have some defence on denying some of that, and if they took you to court, you'd have good defence on it too.
losing track of where you're at.
Yeah.
I think we're still under the definition,
Alright,
under purpose.
Alright, let's read it. So, the purpose of this section of the bylaw is to allow the creation of an accessory dwelling unit on any lot within a single-family residential zoning district in order to provide property owners with an opportunity to age in place, increase diversity of housing stock by creating more residential options, and protect stability, property values, and the residential character of a neighborhood.
I don't think.
Do we need to say property values?
I think that was from last time, I can get rid of it though.
Yeah, I was gonna say, a lot of people might take exception to some of,
Yeah,
Some of
like we're
those
just
things, 'cause-
inviting,
yeah.
I don't think it affects stability, I don't think it affects.
is it really the job of
Neighborhood.
the
or-
bylaw to
Stability.
protect?
Yeah, again, this
I
came
don't
from
think it
last
does
time,
either.
so do you wanna change this?
Wow.
So it's already there.
We're protecting the
No, we
property
discussed
value
this last
of
time.
the
Oh, we
individual,
discussed
but
last time.
uh,
Yeah, I guess I don't
decreasing the
know
property
after.
value probably of
Yeah.
the ones, the
Yeah.
abutters, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
So do we wanna just,
I don't think it does any one of those three.
or what are we doing with this one then? Am I just getting rid of this? Oh, you gotta be kidding me. That was
And
fun.
maintain the
you-
residential character of the
Yeah, I think,
neighborhood.
Yeah.
yeah, you can say
By adding a second
maintain,
house on a.
Yes, yeah.
It's
What
not,
was it?
that's not in the character of the neighborhood, unless it's GR.
Um,
does the state, did the state ever give, a model bylaw?
For this?
Yeah.
Oh, God, no.
So
Okay.
actually.
They talked
Patrick
about it,
probably
right?
should have.
Yeah,
But they
top-
never did.
Protect and
Okay.
maintain the residential character of the neighborhood.
Mm,
Increase diversity
Sure.
of housing stock by creating more residential options and.
No, I think the state just let it out there and they're going to see what other towns do, and they'll kind of probably cherry pick what's nice and
And then
not.
put it
'cause-
together, right?
Yeah, because I say it's something, not, again, not be mean, like, as you can see in this room,
Okay.
it's confrontational with everybody,
Mm.
some people agree this way, some people don't agree this way.
mm,
I've talked to other commissioners around and their towns are the same way,
Mhm.
and some of the boards have been discussing it, and their boards are split as well, going, because again, personally, and from seeing it, it was brought from California, the intent of it is that they do not want single family districts to exist anymore. And this is a stepping stone if you wanted to it, but at the same time, it's also to help the housing number.
mhm.
But it's just like, it's a clever way around it by just saying it's an ADU, it's not a home, it's an ADU, so you don't get taxed as an ADU, as a home.
Okay.
So
I think this.
Definitions are out?
definitions are out, use regulations, becomes section 2.
Mhm.
I think they're sitting back to see what the
Use
towns come up
regulations.
with, and then they're gonna put the hammer
Wasn't
down on the
there
law,
a comment
right?
about, referencing.
Because they have no idea what
we
they're
should
talking
say,
about. Oh, God.
see definitions, section 14 or something like that.
Yeah, that was, I think that was something that, I don't know if
Can't
we have it
remember
here, if
exactly
that was
where
in
I
the,
saw it.
No, I think John had said that last week, under definitions, just under definitions to see in point 2, he just said to put there, see definitions, chapter.
definitions. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we can do that.
Whatever, I'm not gonna fight you on
What is
that.
everyone thought on
I
that?
got, I got
So
other
on the
things to
second
fight
page
about.
here, the one of her comments.
We don't
So-
usually do it.
Not
so it's
necessarily
kind of a-
defined in
Yeah,
both places
that's
and
why
can
we're
cause
trying to make it
confusion
better, not-
if one definition is altered but not the other.
Mhm.
I recommend removing the definition in 5B2 or adding see Article
Yep.
14 and as defined in Article 14, in paragraph 3.
Okay,
I
so,
think in case they are looking for a definition, just point them there,
see section 14 definitions.
yeah. Yeah. So I allow you to go back to that being 3 use regulations.
Yep. This goes back to- So one thing I noticed when looked at this briefly before the meeting, and the setup for this is loosely based off of Winchester, but also what the existing bylaw was
Mhm.
in terms of, you know, how the regulations are broken down. I'm pretty sure these all need to get changed if I remove this A section. So let me start from the beginning. So use regulations. So in all single-family residential zoning districts, one ADU may be constructed or established as a matter of right on the same lot as a principal dwelling, provided the following conditions are met. The building commissioner may issue a building permit, it's just saying the same exact thing. So
Mhm.
removing that, and then all these 1 through 15 should be changed to a letter, thank you.
Now, some of these are
Number
going
one
right
is
to,
basically the same thing that you just said about,
Well, it may be created by right on the same lot as a principal dwelling. Constructed or established right on the same lot as a principal dwelling provided the following. Yeah, so we could just get rid of that. Anyone's thought on that?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, you said it and then you said it again.
Yeah, we're just repeating it. So, get through 1. So, the ADU must be a complete separate housekeeping unit containing sleeping quarters, kitchen, and, sleeping quarters, kitchen, bath, and laundry, which is a
Mhm.
mentioned before, is building code. 3, we got rid of the accessory dwelling unit shall be physically attached, we can't enforce that.
Mhm.
4, the gross floor area of an accessory dwelling unit, including any additions, may not be greater in gross floor area than half of the gross floor area of the principal dwelling, or 900 square feet, whichever is smaller. 5, an accessory dwelling unit has been added to a lot. Once an accessory dwelling unit has been added to a lot, the accessory dwelling unit shall never be enlarged beyond the 900 square feet allowed by this bylaw.
So, Jim, that would prevent them from trying to go to the zoning board too.
Yeah, because it would be a use variance,
Yeah.
which we don't allow.
All right, so, okay.
Because again, once you go over 900 square
One
feet,
way of adding on and
It's a
adding on.
different use.
yeah, keep adding to it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Addition.
an addition, yeah.
Yeah.
With this is the good thing with the ADU is an ADU is classified as 900 square feet. You go over 900 square feet, it's not an ADU anymore, so now it's in legal use. So the whole thing gets technically removed.
So 6, we got rid of, this was the whole provision we had before about the owners of residence in which the accessory dwelling unit is created.
Can we go back to 6 and
Yeah,
just something?
yeah.
Must occupy, but they may occupy, right?
The owner.
We're just saying they don't have to occupy one of these, but they could occupy.
No, we
They don't have
the
to
state's saying we can't
put that
regulate
in.
that.
No, but I'm not saying that they have to, I'm just saying, but they could if they
Oh,
want.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
just
yeah.
wanted to clarify.
Yeah, we're not- oh, yeah, no.
No, before with a lot of ADUs and in-laws, it was always that the owner of the property had to be either one or the other.
Yeah.
The state came out and said they don't even have to live in either the primary or the ADU.
Yeah.
Rental properties
Yep.
everywhere.
That worries me somewhat if the owner's not around, the upkeep of the property.
Oh,
might be-
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think,
Yeah.
yeah, it is.
And we'll look for those phone calls.
I just wanna show you where exactly. So.
I mean, what they're really trying to do is build more houses.
Use
Yeah,
or
build
land
more
structure
houses.
for the accessory
That's-
dwelling unit,
It
this
is.
paragraph shall not
Increase
require
the number.
owner occupancy of
Yeah.
either the
But
accessory
But
dwelling unit or principal
downside
dwelling
is
unit.
something like not
So
having
we
the
can't
owner
require
around.
it before.
Yeah, I
Is,
didn't-
like,
No, I know.
we're getting seen
I
a
was just,
trend of
wanted
banks
to make sure that
either
we weren't saying
foreclosing on
we can't.
homes or
Oh,
buying
yeah.
up
I think
single-family
you wanna
homes
keep it
because it's
kinda
a
like-
great investment.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't.
So people that rent these
put
out are
someone
actually
to it.
banks.
Okay.
Yeah,
So they
we
don't
got,
care-
we
they
got
don't
a
care.
notice in the mail yesterday.
Yeah.
Somebody
About
wants
what?
to buy my house.
Oh, really?
Cash, sight unseen, doesn't matter what condition it's in.
Because they know this is coming,
I,
so that's.
I probably get a letter in the mail every 2 months from my full family and know it. So
Okay.
good cash.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
we got a
kinda-
link or something.
Yeah.
It's kind
Because
of.
banks want it, because right now, banks
Don't
on.
want my house in Alabama.
Please.
Yes.
But I think because banks right now, they're looking at the older houses because the interest rates are so high now, like any of the houses we have, who are at the lower rates, they're losing their shirt.
Right,
So they
right.
want your property because they'll make a
Right,
fortune on it.
Right,
Yours is all updated though.
right, yeah.
Your house is all updated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not like
We
an
have a
old
large-
one.
We have a
Yeah.
large backyard.
So just
That's
wanna.
probably it.
Okay,
stick to
moving
it.
on.
So, yep, an accessory, so any exterior changes in accessory dwelling unit shall be similar in style to the principal dwelling unit. That was from before, do we?
So, yeah, but why do we have changes in there?
Yeah, I was just thinking, that's
It
a
should
weird
be,
word.
The exterior of an accessory dwelling unit shall be similar in style to the principal dwelling unit.
Yeah, it should,
right,
like
so,
exterior
So the
something.
exterior
It
of
just
an
sounds
accessory
weird.
building?
changes.
Or just lose out the verb, just go, an accessory dwelling unit shall be in similar style to the principal dwelling.
Yeah.
So you lose the
Why
first.
changes though?
But that's what I'm saying, lose any exterior changes for,
I think this had
Well,
to
it
do when
should
it
be
was
about-
attached, so if
The-
you were before.
But I
Yes,
think
that
we
was
should
for-
say
Yes,
attached or detached, it should have similar style, right?
Mhm.
Well,
No,
we're not-
yeah,
we're not-
I'm
we're not
saying the
specifying anyway,
language.
Yeah.
So that covers both.
Well,
Yeah,
this
so
is
the
saying,
language
yeah.
is from, so none of this is like, it's not underlined, so it's not new, so that was before when we just mandated it was attached. So I think that's
Yeah.
why it said any exterior
Right.
changes, cause,
That-
but
that-
what was the
But
recommendation you added?
I just thought that the outside, oh, wait a minute, I'm
Or even if you
not.
want to lose that part.
The exterior of an accessory dwelling,
just lose the words and just go, an
Yeah.
accessory dwelling unit shall be, so just
Yeah.
lose the
Yeah.
first four words.
Yeah.
That'll work.
yeah.
Say lose the first
Like
four
you
words.
said, the first four words are, well, we could have
An
the
accessory
exterior of an
Shall
accessory
be
dwelling.
similar in style, yeah, good,
Right.
I like
So
that.
so
The-
start
the
at an
accessory.
accessory. Would that work?
Yeah, I think so.
Make it simple.
Mm-hmm.
I like simple.
Yes.
No, go on the other side of in, I would leave in, so
Just leave it there.
the exterior of an accessory.
So the limited site review would be the time that could be caught, would be caught.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, 'cause that's a judgment thing too.
exactly,
So-
yeah.
So in other words, you don't want a pink accessory building in the
Yeah, yeah,
back,
yeah.
so-
No, when you want things to blend into the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So you don't see them, right?
Well, that's it, like if you have a red brick building out front, you don't want to go with a vinyl siding building out the back, 'cause
Yeah.
then it just looks like a shed or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Can I ask a
Yeah.
zoomed out question? So the intent is for attached,
Mhm.
it's building commissioner is going through the uses, whatever.
Yep.
Detached, it's also building commissioner, there are some timeline requirements and notice. That's the big difference, right?
So, yeah, so if you do it standalone, then you do the limited site plan, which is notifying the butters, and a limited site plan require department heads. So
Department
all
heads,
the
okay.
so limited site plan includes all department heads. So if it's in a conservation area, obviously lands will speak to that, engineering will speak, DPW will speak to water connections, power connections, sewer connections. Health will speak to if it's a Title 5, if it's on septic. We'll speak to the zoning side if it meets all that. Police will speak to
But in a
access.
regular one, you're certainly free to check in with health or check in with anybody, right?
So yeah,
You're
so
not prohibited from being like, you know what, this one looks like,
no, so if you're attaching it,
Yeah.
say to the house,
Yeah.
that still goes, because our permitting system does it, you'll apply for your permit, we'll send it to fire, health, everybody will look
so
at
it's
it.
the same.
So it's the same, just you
Yeah.
don't have to notify the butters.
Oh, right, that's what I'm saying.
And then it'll still be sent to department heads, we'll just have it a more more formal talk
I
than
see.
actually with a because attached one, we'll just send it out, they'll send back their notes going, yeah, we're good, don't worry about it.
Okay,
Standalone, I'll set up a meeting for everybody, just go, hey, look at this,
okay,
give me your opinions, and they'll have to show us that they notify the butters.
okay.
I do have some questions when we get there to
Yeah.
section 13.
Yeah.
How it would apply here, because some things don't make sense to me.
Well, that's why I think we want to
How it
put
would
the,
apply.
again, with the outdoor dining,
Yeah,
because we're putting it in the ADU as site plan, limited site plan,
yeah,
it's kind of specific to ADU. Same with the outdoor dining, it's very specific to the outdoor dining, because you're not looking at outdoor dining as it was a keeping character of the neighbourhood when you're in, say, the middle of
Right,
town
right.
with all the seating around.
So,
kind of-
so in outside dining, it
Yeah.
says specifically how to handle it.
Yeah.
For the outside.
Yeah, so we go,
Yeah.
so we kind of, So that's the limited
Yeah.
site plan in chapter 13
Yeah.
is very specific to a full site plan with the planning board.
Right, because it says they have to do everything in section 7 unless they get a waiver.
Yeah.
And that makes no sense at all, yeah. So, like,
Yeah, so it's a
Section
lot
6.
larger.
well, in section 6, but then if you look, I don't mean to digress on this.
Yeah.
But it says, in paragraph, in subsection B, the first paragraph, as part of the project description submission, the applicant may request waivers from site plan submission criteria listed in section 13.7. But
Yeah.
13.7 is the FU site plan review. So that makes no sense to me why you would request the site plan
Which
waivers.
section were you reading from?
So I'm in section 6, limited site plan review.
Yeah.
B, and then if you read that first big paragraph under
Yeah.
B,
Oh,
the
yeah.
last sentence.
Yeah, yeah.
As part of the project description submission, the applicant may request waivers from the site plan submission criteria listed in section 13.7.
Oh, yeah,
Then you go to 13.7, that's the FU site plan review.
right, yeah.
That
that's-
implies that they'd have to do a waiver to say, I don't want to give you all these copies, I don't need to.
Yes, no,
Yeah.
so the intent of that is if you trigger a full site plan, that's a requirement. But if
Yeah.
you trigger a limited site plan, it's like a site plan, it's just basically
But-
a
No, I know,
smaller
but it looks
version.
like
But
an
it
error.
says you need to do it.
Yeah, because
So
if you go for.
that's maybe not what the intention is.
Yeah.
No, so the
That's what
intention
it
is.
says.
Yeah, so the intention is that if you come in front of just the department heads,
Yeah.
we're still looking at a site plan.
Yeah,
The only
yeah,
difference
but-
in front of the board. So
but-
those criteria still kind of kick in there.
We'll do that.
But it says that the applicant shall submit 9 copies of the said plan.
So I think this
Yeah,
kind of
and-
goes back to Carolyn's point of just having it, the limited site plan.
Standalone.
Stand alone within this, because section 13
It gets-
in general, like, if
really
we just,
similar.
if we just threw it in terms of
I don't-
applicability,
I don't try-
now
that's
we're
why I wanted
diving
to
into like,
grasp on.
okay, this doesn't make
But
sense.
I was just trying to make sense out of it
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
Because to be
Yeah.
honest with you, I haven't really probably paid as much attention to the limited site plan review as
Yeah.
I should have. You know,
Right.
all of a sudden I'm reading this and saying,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not quite as.
Yeah.
I think it says things it probably didn't intend.
yeah.
That's
To
what
a
it
degree,
says.
yeah, that is also, again, when you do limited site plan, it's very similar, not similar, but it's very similar to the planning board. It's just some of the criteria for either limited and full are all the same criteria.
Right.
And it says, we exempt them from these because we don't need to see the budding properties if it's something that's, again, it's only a few parking spaces, or if it's a building that's only
Yeah.
2,500 square feet. It's insignificant that, again, take Western Spring. So that's a full site plan.
Right.
But say they added on an addition in a few years' time and decided we were going to put a little addition on, and they came back for a limited site plan, all the criteria for a site plan would apply, which is all the plans, everything, which are
Right.
going to bring actually more.
But if you read it literally, it says they'd have to apply for a waiver if they're doing a limited site plan review, not to do the things in section 7. That's
Which
how
is
I
the
read
full
it.
site plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you apply for
Yeah.
limited site plan, they're really, it's a waiver, but they're saying we're requesting a limited site plan because we don't
Yeah.
trigger the full.
Yeah.
That's kind of their waiver.
Yeah.
And then we look at what we require for a limit. So we'll set up a limited site plan with all department heads. We'll go through what we require for that to the
Yeah.
extent of it, and I'll email back going, yeah, you don't require this, this, and this, and this, and that's kind of the waiver.
Right. It just seems more, a little bit.
It's yeah.
Again, I haven't dealt with this before, so. But.
So I had to sidetrack out. I don't even have this written. do I?
Norwood.
I'm just seeing how they have it written in their bylaw.
What is that? We're not Norwood, Patrick.
No. I just,
He's.
they're limited.
I'm channeling somebody else.
I don't even, I'm just gonna say, there's a thing in Norwood where they do limited site plan review through the planning board, but it's for signs, and I don't even think they actually even define it, which is a whole nother issue, but, alright.
And certainly, these are
Almost
things that need to be
sidetracked.
fixed at
Yeah.
some
Right.
point.
When we get to
We don't
section
need to
13.
do it today. I was just,
Yep.
trying to understand the, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Alright. So, 7, an accessory dwelling unit shall be similar in style to the principal dwelling unit. Makes sense? 8, any new separate outside entrance serving an accessory dwelling unit shall be located on the side or in the rear of the principal dwelling unit.
Do we need that?
That, it probably could,
That was the
Fix
second
it.
egress, I think, but didn't it say
Yeah.
that, did I read,
where is it?
So that was originally there for if you added on any so this, again, cause it's not on
Yeah.
the line, it was for the ADU when it was like an in-law. When you
Yeah.
added to the house, they didn't want you building the front door to match the house front door, so then it obviously looked like a two-family. So the entrances had to be on the side or the rear.
Oh.
It's still applicable, so we have to try to
Yeah.
find a way to have it be for both attached and detached though, right? Do you want, if the detached, would you rather have?
They
the
detach, it
front
makes
door-
sense, they don't
yeah,
wanna
but
face the front.
Yeah, detached, make it look like a mini house, that would
Yeah.
make sense. And
We
then
wouldn't wanna
Right.
have the entrance be on the
on the
on the
side,
side or
And if
rear
it's
to
attached
avoid
to
it.
it, you
then
got
side.
one house, you got the other doorway right there, makes
Yeah.
sense, you're gonna be going in the front probably anyways, but I don't know, do you
I have a-
exclude the front?
I have a question under the limited site plan. Do we wanna say like all of those things in addition to what we had already said here? So I thought they kind of, all this applied also to the detached.
This applies for all of
This
them.
applies for
This
attached
is-
and
this is-
detached.
This is
Right,
requirements,
so-
whereas
yeah.
Yeah.
Any ADU.
the limited site plan review is just,
Right.
I guess,
Yeah,
a little
Yeah.
bit more detailed.
I know, but I was wondering if we wanna say something here, like in addition to,
Well, so the kind of thing is, all the criteria up at the top there, all the 14, 15 points are just get you the ADU.
yeah,
And then the next point is it standalone or
Okay.
not? If you were standalone, you have to meet all these criteria just to get there first. And
Okay.
then you're a limited site plan if you're standalone. If you're not standalone,
Detached.
you skip that and jump to the next point. So it's kind of like almost like a checklist as you go down.
yeah.
you have,
So
everyone
the-
has to do this in, if you're
And-
detached.
Right.
well,
Then you trigger that.
So this would
yeah.
be attached and detached then?
Yeah.
The side and rear.
Yes,
Hold on.
So, didn't I just read if a second accessory unit was, ADU was added to the principal building on the second floor?
Mhm.
What did I just read there? Was that up there, Patrick? 'Cause
Yeah,
it's
we
not-
had one.
Yeah.
It's
Let
not
me
what I
ask
have
her.
here.
Number
Alright,
14
let's
or
go, let's
thereabouts.
just get through
Fix
this
that
one before we
later.
start going around. So, any new separate entrance, there should be any entrance serving an accessory dwelling unit shall be located on the side or rear of the unit, or?
Well, I think what John was saying was if it's attached, we keep what originally was there, side or rear. But if it's a standalone ADU, would it be better in the front to make it look like a house?
Do you not want it to look like a house though? Would you rather have it look more
Like
like
a shed?
a shed or like just something that's an accessory structure?
Yeah, I'm not sure why you would want to
I don't know
allow
why
it
you'd want
in the
that.
front if it were detached.
So if it's detached, you still want it on the side or the rear, so it looks like a.
Well, I think that's where the purpose is,
Okay.
right? So we.
I mean, I think we should allow it everywhere, but I mean.
Yeah, no, I
If we
just-
want it to pass.
If it's detached, you're saying, yeah.
That was the same purpose
Yeah.
with the attached, was to have it on the side or rear, so you didn't have another door looking like it was a duplex.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
I swear I just read someplace, if an accessory unit was added to the second floor of
Number
a.
four.
That's like
14.
number 14.
Huh?
14.
14.
so.
All right, that's what, okay.
So we can
How did I
say,
get down there?
Shall be located
Your speed reader.
Yeah.
or
relative to the principal dwelling unit.
rear. Oh. Do you wanna do that? So I
So what does that, if it's detached though, what does that really mean for a detached one?
You're putting the door, access door, because you need two exits, so you're going to put one on the side or each end of it.
And one can be at the
or-
front.
Or one at the back.
But it can't be at the front.
Not the way this is written
Not
now.
by this one.
I mean, we could get rid of it, I
I
think
mean-
that was just the point of having it
Huh?
now look like, we can get rid of this, or we can word this differently, I think the point of it was to make it look like
So
when
if
you're
it's
going there.
detached, it still needs to have two entrances.
Yeah, so the way, especially with the ADU, when it was, say, the ADU that Patrick done for the in-law, you had to go through to the main house. So you need one exit from the ADU, and going through the main house, using the main house was your second means of egress. But now that you're allowed to add an ADU to your house and not have an entrance going through, now you've locked it off, you need two exits out of that.
Still need two exits.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's detached,
Well, I thought-
Need
just
to-
in the back.
Didn't it say
Still need
somewhere
to.
about-
I'm not sure why you don't allow it to be on the front. of the
Well,
unit.
why not have it, oh, yeah,
You know,
Well, it's not front of the unit, it means front of the dwelling, the
Well,
primary
no, that was
dwelling.
front of the
Well,
unit.
that's what I'm
Do you
saying.
wanna
No,
change it?
not what
I
that
wasn't
says.
sure how it applies to the
Any entrance serving the accessory dwelling unit
Yeah,
shall.
shall be located on the side or rear.
And I don't think we should
That's
be saying that.
down
because-
below, 15 is,
That just means, so this is the primary unit,
Yep.
so the detached has to be here.
Yeah.
The front of the ADU can be facing the front, but it has to be the whole unit has to be
We're
located.
talking about the
That's-
entrance.
this is for the
The
entrance,
entrance.
the doors.
So why should the
Doors and
entrance
stuff.
of the accessory unit, if it's detached, not be at the so-called front, whatever the front is? Which I imagine would be facing the street, you know, it's,
but it
Yeah,
could
but
be at the.
okay, so I thought, Pat, you were modifying that to say the front of or something. What did
Well, so-
you proposed
I
something.
didn't miss that.
The intent, I think, in Pat's to it is, if, especially we did it when it was attached, because you want it on the side of the
Yeah.
rear. With ADU, if we keep it to the, say, the side of the structure, it kind of, either you're putting in a gable, or you're gonna turn the accessory dwelling unit, so you put a front door on it, but it's at the side, so you drive into it. So from the street, you're looking at a gable end. It doesn't look like a house per se, it looks like an accessory
although if
structure.
it is in the rear, like if it's actually literally in the backyard, it would be kinda dumb not to have a front door, right? But that's
That's
like,
my-
again,
that's my
where it
point.
gets
Right,
confusing.
yeah, maybe we need 2 points to
don't-
cover both of these?
Yeah, I think it's different detached and attached.
Okay.
Like maybe
And
we
it
need to
seems
add
very- I mean, you
something in
might
the
look very
detached.
strange, having a building that's a dwelling in the back, but you
Just a
can't
gable
find
end.
the front door, you
Yeah.
can't find the door,
It's
you
an
know?
accessory unit to the.
We keep the doors on the side and rear for the accessory,
Follow the
For an
walkway.
attached.
for an attached ADU. Hey, even if you just add that word.
Accessory dwelling unit. Sorry, and attached.
Seven and attached, because then we don't have to write about standalone, because it
Yeah,
That
just,
makes it
yeah,
easier.
just attached.
that's
yeah.
right, that's right. Then it's open for whatever anybody wants to do on detached.
Sorry, and attached
Yeah.
accessory dwelling.
Because hopefully that's
Shall
part of the
located
design, that they would make the
on
design look
side or
pleasing.
rear.
Yeah.
If it's a building in the back,
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds okay.
Okay,
No.
that makes more sense then.
yeah.
Alright. What, this one was.
Now, do we need to add in the other one at this point, or do we put it in with limited site
The
plan?
standalone?
Yeah.
No, I think that by that
So-
saying that, the doors only affect the attached ADU, they don't affect the standalone, so we don't have to put it in there, so they can do that anywhere they
And let
want.
the standalone
Yeah.
do it anyway.
Do it at the front, yeah,
But, and we still have to think about it has to be to the rear or to the side.
side on the attached one.
Yeah, but-
No, I mean, the location of the standalone is still.
Oh, no, the standalone is still in the back and the rear, yeah.
So actually,
So
you
that would
probably
kind
should have
of-
left that language almost like it was on 8, because now, down on 14, you're addressing the principal dwelling again.
Well, this is
So-
upper floors. I think
and
they're
then-
saying, they have, if you're on an upper floor, you have to have a way out from the upper floor.
We're up before.
You need a outside stairway or an
Yeah.
inside
So
stairway.
14 is just
Down
defining
without
how
going
you
through
do
the
it.
house.
It's going on if you go through the building or if you're standalone. Because if you go through the building, then you realistically only need one exit out the back or the side. Because I can do it attached on the ground level. This is just that 14 is just for upper floor accessory.
Yeah, but you could almost take the upper floor out of that and just say the attached accessory unit. Because what happens if you put it down below? Like say, I have over my garage is finished, okay?
Yep.
Yep.
And I have a 2-car garage right underneath. What if I made that the AD unit?
The garage
My
underneath.
garage.
Or
Yeah.
above.
So technically, what if I made my garage the 80 unit,
Mm.
and then I built a 3-car garage in my backyard?
I
Right?
would say no,
But
because you can't
the-
have more than 3.
You're not addressing the,
I see where you're coming from.
you're not addressing an accessory dwelling on the,
Second floor of the garage.
on the first floor. You're
First
not
floor.
addressing the
First-
first floor.
yeah.
That's only addressing the second.
floor.
So you should almost get rid of the second floor out of that, right?
Well, the first floor is covered anyway, you have to have a second entrance on the side or the rear. This is just saying if it's on the second floor, it can be outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really,
You don't have to build a new staircase
inside.
out inside to handle it.
But you still need an entrance to it, so don't we want to identify that? Or make a definition of that, it has to be on the side of the rear, if it's a first floor?
Well, technically, you could probably get rid of 14 if that's the case, because 8 stands on its own with any new separate outside entrance serving an attached accessory dwelling unit shall be located on the side or rear. So even if it's first floor, second floor, 8 kind of covers it. So you could lose 14 completely.
And the building codes would really
They ain't getting,
specify
yeah.
how you build it, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's outside or inside.
Yeah, because it's going to be tough on if, like, for attaching, because if you don't have the door going through to the main principal building, now you're rating that wall with a 2-hour rated wall, which I think is going to catch a lot of people. If you put it into
Right.
your point with a 2-bay garage and you put it on the first floor, now you're rating all the lights, all the ceiling, because the state mightn't call it 2-family, building code does. The
Well, you
building
already
code.
have 5/8, right?
Yeah, but say the lights, you need to do rating on them. If you have a fan going outside, you have to rate that fan in, because if you build your ceiling of 5/8, but your light, say a can light, or your fan goes up here and goes out, if the fire goes in that, it's above that fire barrier, so you have to
you'd
rate
to add
that.
surface lights only?
Yeah, so either the little mouse traps, then you put a box around them. You can
Okay.
put, if you have cans, you can get, we call them woolly hats. You pull them over, they're a rated cover.
Have
So
a
that's
high
why you-
ceiling, I can make a false ceiling up there.
Yeah, that's why you see a lot of the old condos in the bathrooms have that drop fake ceiling, because they put 5/8 above it, then do all their wiring and plumbing, and then put another false ceiling above that. So you put that, essentially created a fire barrier.
So, did we saying, so 4 we don't really need because 8 covers it? Because,
Well, yeah, so 8, that's what, I
Well-
think that's what 8 they're talking to. Correct me if I'm wrong, because it's, right now, 8,
Doesn't it need an exit though, if it's on the second floor? It still needs an exterior exit to the outside. onto the
only,
house?
well, not necessarily. So if you're joined to the house,
Yeah,
then you can use the main house as your 2 exits.
you can use 2 exits straight
The
to
main,
the
because
house, okay.
we say, honestly say, you have kids and you build on a bedroom and a TV room and basically and a bathroom for them in their own little wing of the house.
yeah.
Mhm.
They still all come through the main house to get out. So with an in-law and the original in-law, you could cut through.
But it's not an in-law now, it's a rental.
It's a
So,
rental, which you still can.
Do you want your renters to come through your house?
But
Well,
if you,
If it's
not,
family.
it's not definite. It's a rental. It's an accessory dwelling. It
Yeah.
could be. It could be your family.
Your family
it
could be
a
there. Your
rental,
kids come back
it's-
from college and
whatever.
can't afford to
So
go
if they
anywhere.
wanna do a family.
Well, what if you
go
just
the other
say
direction,
any attached or detached accessory dwelling unit must have its entrances on the side or rear?
We
No,
just talked. We were just talking.
I-
I'd
we just
say-
did away with that.
I change it
Yeah.
slightly to any entrance serving. I lose the separate outside entrance
So any entrance.
serving the attached ADU shall be located on the side or rear.
Well, what if it's a? Wait a minute.
Because
Because serving and attached area shall be located on the side or rear. Well, that doesn't make sense if it's attached though. No. Because it's any
Yeah.
new separate outside entrance,
Well, it's,
not every.
it's
It's
the outside part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
then if you go to 14, it's for any upper floor accessory dwelling. I think it's kind of already covered in that, in 8. Because 8 just says any outside entrance, because it's attached, whether it's attached on the first floor or attached on the second floor.
Hmm.
Does that make sense, or am I talking up my backside?
What's everyone's thought on that?
I saw something about the entrance.
Would take out new separate in 8, just say any outside entrance.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then 14, I don't have a problem with 14. I think it's okay. If it's already covered by building code, maybe we take it out, but I don't,
Well, no, I think they're just trying to say if we clean up, because 8 is saying any outside entrance to an attached ADU,
yeah.
which covers first floor, second floor, third floor. Then 14 just specifically says any upper floor accessory dwelling unit created with a primary dwelling unit, a secondary egress shall be either created within the envelope of the structure or on the, so yeah, I think it combines everything,
Yeah.
because it does give you a second egress through the envelope of just the main structure or to the exterior.
Mm-hmm.
What about if
So yeah,
you
we
get-
could keep it in.
What about if you get rid of this?
So can we create it on
Well, no,
So
that'd be good.
For an upper floor accessory dwelling unit, secondary egress shall either be created within the envelope of the structure or constructed on the exterior to the rear or side of the principal, I'm sorry. I'm just thinking of like a situation you have a detached garage and you wanna build above it.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think of, I think that like, because you do need to say that part which you had put in there is created within the primary dwelling, that you can use one of the primary dwellings as an exit if you have access to it.
If you want to.
Yeah.
So,
So I'd say leave it. Yeah.
I don't know why 14 isn't number 9 myself. Why you have to do
yeah,
that,
that's the other thing.
Okay.
right? Don't you think they should be right together? Because
Well,
by the time you
logically,
get
you
to
would
14,
think-
you might forget what you read at
Right.
8, right?
I was thinking that too, like why aren't those together? Like,
Okay, accessory. We were saying so 8 and 9 need to be together.
Well, no,
Uh,
14 should be.
9 and 14, swap them around, like,
Oh, okay.
Well, move 14 up, right?
yeah, 14
Got
should be
it.
number 9 really, right?
Alright. Wait a minute, no, that means I gotta do this.
I just change the numbers, change that to 9 and change the other one or something.
well, I think we'll,
Change it to 8.5 or something, so you don't need to move it up.
will we renumber?
As a temporary.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, will we renumber them anyway? Because like 6 is gone completely.
And
So
you're gonna change
Right.
the letters anyway.
Yeah.
I gotta change the letters.
Yeah.
10 is going.
This is gonna look crazy. Copy.
So we didn't address the detached
endeavour
dwelling units?
No, because that's what we're saying. That's what they were saying. They want it standalone accessory automatically needs 2 exits, and they, John and Phil and Sarah were saying like side and rear. It kind of looks silly on it, so be allowed to put it on the front. So this says only specifically attached, have to be side and rear. If it's standalone, you can make it look more like a house than actually a shed.
So in other words, if we leave it out, they can put it anywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Alright,
So then you're on 2.
okay, so we got such dwelling unit shall be located within, an accessory dwelling unit shall only be located within or to the side or rear of the principal dwelling unit. The street facing facade of an accessory dwelling unit shall not encroach past the front facade of the principal dwelling unit.
Yeah.
Carolyn didn't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
11, we're removing that, accessory dwelling unit shall not be occupied by more than 2 people or more than 2 bedrooms, just cause it gets complicated with regulating the interior of a dwelling.
So, and in the short term, we're gonna have, that's gonna be
Yeah.
defined someplace
Yeah.
else, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, short-term rentals, I should say, as defined within this bylaw, or
Yeah, because, yeah, we're gonna include it in this bylaw.
fine.
To be devil's advocate, the new 1(9). The street facing facade of an accessory dwelling unit shall not encroach past the front facade.
Mhm.
So it makes sense if we're saying that there's an entrance there to not have it right there. But why can't part of the facade be there and it just looks?
Well, no, so that says if your house, if this is your main primary structure,
Right.
you can move the ADU but can't go further than the front facade of the building. So you can go right beside it and go
Okay.
in the rear. It just
But
can't
it can't
come
be-
past
but-
the front of the house.
Yeah, it can't be the front.
Shall
house.
not, so it can go up to,
Up to, yeah.
okay,
So the only
Okay, I'm fine,
one.
I mean, you think it would look better set back? I mean, at least 10 feet or something like that? I mean, can you,
it's a personal thing. When I looked
Yeah.
at doing it on my house, I had it set back, but I could see a situation where, I wouldn't want the front door there, but you could see,
I think a lot of people are going to, even if we get into the front, like in line with the house, they're going to probably push it back unless
Yeah.
your lot's a long, skinny lot width-wise.
Yeah.
I think they'll push it back. The only way I was thinking about this that might be funky is on a corner lot.
yeah.
So say if you're on the
what's-
corner,
what
say,
side and what's
say if you're
rear.
on Washington Street in Baker, and Washington Street's your front, your house face Washington, they could turn it and put it facing Baker and have Baker,
Yeah.
but technically that's their side.
Right,
So I thought that was the only one that would be kind of,
that's
What?
what I thought too, yeah. Like where things are questionable,
probably
what side
more
and what's
like-
rear.
almost look more natural, right? That,
probably would look like
that you're on a smaller lot,
Yeah.
something like that, so.
you turn the house face one street on the corner.
Okay.
Would probably look cleaner than having it in the back.
Oh, I got a corner lot, I'd ask for a curb cut on the other side, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Ah, jeez.
Sorry, so are we making any changes to that?
No.
No,
So they're not gonna include as defined.
So when you said, what was it?
Oh, I guess because it's already implied if it's within the definition. I guess we could put it, but sure.
Well, okay, well, we're gonna be putting it in here anyway, so you're right.
Alright.
We don't really need it, I guess, yeah.
Yeah. Any thought on that? Just leave it.
So 11 is out of there altogether?
11's
You-
out of
you
there
can't-
altogether.
We can't dictate the amount
Can't
of
dictate
people
the
or
interior of the dwelling.
we're not
I
allowed.
mean, if the couple has a kid and,
A couple of 7 kids, no wedged in there. We can't dictate that.
So, the construction of an accessory dwelling
just
unit.
reading Dolly Parton, they had a 2-room cabin,
Yeah.
and there was 16 of them living in there.
Jeez. So 13, construction of accessory dwelling unit must be in conformity with the state building code, Title 5 of the state sanitary code and other local bylaws, ordinances, and regulations. If there's in conflict between other local bylaws, ordinances, and regulations, in this ADU bylaw, the provisions of the ADU bylaw shall prevail.
Should that be two different things?
So when you
They
say,
don't really link, I would say.
Hmm.
so when you say Title
Yeah.
5, I'm sorry.
Does everyone see what John's saying?
I think they are linked
Yeah.
because you're
Yeah.
you're kind of stating like Title 5, the sanitary code, local bylaws,
yeah,
but then at the same time we're kind of covering ourselves by saying if the ADU bylaw at the state level says it's basically going with a more stringent provision, they'll take over. Again, it's something to say like it's allowed as a right, so we can't stop it. I think that's why it's put in there just to tie it.
Okay, so you're tying
I
it back
think
to the
it's good,
state level.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Title 5 would actually relate to what the letter from the Board of
Yeah.
Health sent to us,
I mean,
right?
yeah, so that language I think is pre-existing from when it was even the
There was
the in-law suite bylaw.
Yeah.
So,
So did you ever get a statement from the sewer water?
I didn't get one, no.
No, they never, Rick said he was gonna send it over that day, so,
Yeah,
next day, so maybe he got busy.
yeah.
Because, what he told me, the water sewer, that they wanted, individual, if it's a detached,
Yeah.
they wanted separate utilities from the street, like a separate water and
Yep.
sewer connection.
I mean, ultimately, they're gonna have to follow what they say anyway, so when they go to do hookups, if it's detached, then it's gonna just be covered within limited site plan review.
Yeah, so it's right to cover
So
that.
that would be
Because that's it, it's also, there's been 2 points of view from the law firms on that as well. One says you can have separate utilities, one says you cannot. Because they said don't have separate utilities because then you have the potential of trying to condo or split into 2 family. But then at the same time, you're not going to put all the power and all the water back into the main house and try and figure out how much water went to the ADU. That would cause, I think, the owner of the house more headaches. I think allowing them to have separate utilities is fine. It also, not to be cruel or anything, it gives us a lot of power too, because if they start acting up, we can just walk in and take the meter off the wall and shut the power down to it, and we'll get control back of it until they comply with our laws. So
I know we had issues in Norwood with the water meters that, they were putting like, a second water meter in, or irrigation meter, and they, weren't notifying the water department and getting it registered.
Yeah.
So, 3 years down the road, they're getting a $3,000 or $4,000 water bill, because nobody ever read the meter, and they come in, they read the meter, they've used the water, so there's no fight for it, so we had a number of meetings and what we did, so now what they do is they actually will give the plumber the body of the meter without the guts inside it, and then they'll install it, they inspect it, put a sticker on it, and then they'll come and set it up, okay? But then we had issues with sub-metering or second meters. So if it's a condo or an irrigation meter, that would be a separate meter with a separate reading. But if it was an apartment building, a rental, it was sub-metered, but the town is only going to bill for the main meter, and the landlord would have to go and
Divvy it up.
read the other, collect for the other ones, because the town did not want to chase tenants after they've moved away, right? So they wanted to be guaranteed their money, so that's, so we have that's the way we do the sub-meeting on rentals,
Yeah, no, we got lucky because water department worked well with us, so like to the irrigation, we were getting that, people coming getting irrigation and tying it. Now with the system, they look up the permit, and if they don't have a plumbing permit, you ain't getting a meter.
Right.
So getting back to this.
Patrick, I have one question on
You can't even register the
On
meter
13.
until you have a permit,
Yeah.
the plumbing permit.
So it's really, it's not saying that there has to be parking for all the dwelling units, both units, it's just saying that they can use any of them.
You're
That's.
talking about 14, sorry.
It's not.
It was
for-
13.
But yeah,
Oh,
not 14,
okay, sorry, yeah, no worries, yep.
Yeah, should be provided for use, that's the key word there on C,
Mhm.
anyone living in the primary or the accessory dwelling unit can use any of the parking.
Mhm.
That's right, that's what it's
I
saying.
guess that makes sense, yeah.
It's not saying you have to have a certain number of parking spaces.
I mean, it would make sense to just say off-street parking shall be provided for all occupants of both the principal and accessory dwelling units.
I don't have a problem with it, I just wanna make sure I was understanding it right, so, yeah.
So if you had a couple that lived in there and they had 2 cars, they each had a car,
Mhm.
and you only have to provide 1 space, are you allowed to have a second space for that tenant?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just says you have at a minimum you have to provide, but not, you provide not more than one for the parking space for the ADU,
It says provide not more than one parking space.
for the ADU. So you're gonna have to give up some of, the main house is going to have to give up some of their parking space.
And they may already have more parking spaces they need, you know,
Right.
right, so,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm good with that.
I mean,
Sure.
you could add something, I think we thought about this before, like you'd add language about, under no circumstances shall parking be off,
Yeah.
I just wanna make sure it wasn't
It's-
putting a restriction on the current
Yeah.
occupants, you know.
Well, no, so this is where it plays that shell game, is it says provide not more than one parking.
Yeah.
I could pay a portion of my lot for 4 cars and say, well, that one is there is for the ADU,
Yeah.
and then they're gonna use the other 2-3 spots.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's, but that's what came from, that one's directly provide not more than one, that I believe, Patrick, that came straight from the state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna.
Yeah. I think that's fine, I'm good.
Yeah, right there.
Mhm.
Yeah. For required, really took it 0.5 miles.
So the Title V, the Board of Health would be involved in the limited, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, even with
Even-
it attached, they're going to be, because even when you do a new house, we send, again, in our system, we notify the Board of Health every time a new house or any alterations made, to check for us if it's on a septic system or if it's on town sewer.
Okay. So what was 15? The accessory dwelling unit and principal dwelling unit must comply with the table of dimensional regulations, and accessory dwelling unit must conform to all setback requirements consistent with that of the principal dwelling unit and not that of an accessory structure.
Mhm.
Carolyn commented on this, so I'm just gonna bring that up. This is last week, but it's 15. I'll let you read.
No.
May need you to read it.
Okay. I know we discussed this
Oh,
last
yeah, I
week.
have
Oh,
it.
yes.
I have it.
Okay.
don't know why it would be considered unreasonable.
Yeah, and also the thing too with, we already have an accessory, if you've got, again, if you've less than 15 feet and you've gone closer to the lot line, our accessory says you cannot have cooking or sleeping in that unit, so this would be a violation of our zoning, again, it's the use. So
Right.
now you're creating a non-conforming use by changing, so if I had a
Yeah.
2-bay garage and I kept it under 15 feet under the 22 by 24, had my 100 feet back, I can go within 10 of the rear and 6 of the side.
Yeah.
But our zoning says, it's in our zoning, says you cannot have cooking or sleeping in that. You can have a man cave, a she shed, whatever you want in there, but you can't have sleeping or cooking. Now, if you put an ADU into it, now you've created you've made something that was conforming, now you've made it non-conforming, which
Yeah.
is a violation of zoning. And this is a use, you can't use one use to violate another use.
Yeah, so if you have an accessory, or if you had a detached garage.
Yep.
And it's under 15 feet,
And it's,
and it's,
you use that exception to get closer,
yeah,
you can't put an ADU in that, because now you're creating a non-conformity. And that's a violation of zoning, so you can't use an ADU to get into it. Because an ADU is allowed as a right,
yeah.
the use is allowed as a right, it doesn't mean you can break the law
Yeah.
of other
So you
zoning.
can't do that to a garage that's within
No,
15
if
feet
it's,
of the.
if you've already used
Yeah.
those exceptions of accessory structure,
Yeah,
and that use those exceptions to get closer to the lot line,
yeah,
then putting an ADU in there, especially in a pre-existing accessory structure, you've created a non-conforming, you've taken a conforming structure and made it non-conforming.
right,
It'd be the same as if your house was built right to the, say, the setback line,
yeah.
and then you go, okay, I'm gonna put the ADU attached. Now you've made that building non-conforming.
And also how, I mean, I think we talked about this before, this is where this came up, like how realistic, if I have a detached garage, I've got space above it, if you were to put a habitable space in there, is that gonna be above 15 feet? Can you do that under 15 feet, or is that kind of?
No, the accessory would use those setbacks.
So in reality, it's always gonna be conforming to
The
our
setbacks.
Setbacks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like if you have an
Yeah.
Well,
accessory.
we can answer with the reasons why we
Yeah.
think it is okay, like that it would
Yeah.
create a use violation.
Yeah.
I'm sure she would be
Yeah.
in agreement.
Okay. I mean, I like keeping it, just
I-
because I think we brought it up before as,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
yeah,
like,
we don't want something like this
Yeah.
right.
because again, if it's that thing of,
Somewhere else probably.
yeah, you want the extra living space, but you also want to set your neighbours off. And if he's used to you having just your garage there, you put your car in and you go home, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden you've an entire family living there with cars parked there within 6 feet of your house,
Yeah, because
that defeats the purpose of
and
it.
I don't think, yeah, that's really not unreasonable too.
No,
especially
that's
if
not
it's-
unreasonable, it's already in our zoning.
It's a quiet garage or quiet
Yeah.
shed that people
Right.
just use to grab,
Yeah.
the lawnmower from, as opposed to someone actually living
Living
now
there.
6 feet from the
Yeah.
property line. It's a whole different.
And again, that's it, it's the use, the ADU is a use, not a building.
Yep.
And the use would be create a non-conformity.
Okay.
I have a formatting question.
Yep.
Some places in the bylaw, terms that are defined are written in all caps. And sometimes it's not. Like this accessory structure is defined in section 14, I checked it. So do we wanna put it in all caps just to call attention to people that, hey, if you don't know what that means, accessory structure, check the definition?
I think that might be a
Yeah.
good standard to have.
So
It gives
we
a
have
guide-
it
a
sometimes and then
guidepost.
sometimes we don't, so,
Then it gives a guidepost to people know
yeah.
to go look.
So you're talking
Do-
about the last.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the phrase
Well, I'm
accessory
doing it first.
structure,
15 height restriction, 15-foot height restriction.
because
Yeah,
it's
that's only tied to
defined
an
in our
accessory,
section
to an
14.
Accessory structure, like a garage and that,
Right.
you want to get closer, that 15
Yeah.
allows it.
That's
And
no problem.
With an ADU.
Sometimes that's helpful
because we
to
don't
like
allow it that
alert the
close.
reader
We
that
keep it back
there's
with
more
the accessory
information.
house, 'cause An
Yeah.
accessory that goes that close and uses all those criteria to get that close
Right.
cannot,
Okay.
or all our accessory structures.
Any other
cannot have
thoughts on this before we move on to the next
sleeping or
section?
cooking.
So, but
Looks
if
good.
we limit
Yep.
to the 15
Okay.
feet, that's like they couldn't turn an existing
So,
two-car garage into,
I think this
An
goes
ADU
back
above.
to
Only if it's, no, they can't do
This
that,
goes
no.
back to use
because
Because
of
of
height
that.
restriction.
use
Yeah,
regulations.
exactly.
I don't know if I really
I
even
want
need
to
this.
prevent that
So
because
Jim,
if you get that close to the
Yeah, I'm
property,
not-
that'd be-
this portion right here had to do when we were setting this up as, needing to go, well, actually, all these to go through you, but we had this to obtain an accessory dwelling unit. The owner of the property shall submit to the building commissioner a notarized letter, and then we couldn't do that, so it
No.
just included a floor plan. I don't think any of this is needed,
That's-
you would have to
no.
do that no matter what.
It's gonna be going for a permit, so that'll be all in the permit part of
I would
it.
just, yeah, cut the entire thing.
Yeah, and again, if they do the standalone while they're applying for the permit, that'll trigger this limited site plan.
Yep.
We'll have all that information on the permit already.
Okay, that makes it easier, because I'll just remove all this. And now, so limited site plan review, accessory dwelling units that, we'll let everyone read through this.
So I did have a question on this section though. I was wondering if some of the, first of all, the number C is already handled by 7 in the prior section, use requirements, so it's twice. So I think it's bad to have something twice, because you might be inconsistent at some point. You know, if you look at number 7. And then I thought some of these really should just be in that list under use and regulations. So I wasn't sure why some of these are different than the other use and regulations that
Well,
we have.
these are being reprinted because that's a limited site plan. So as we're saying,
Because it's detached, it has to.
yeah,
be this and-
so we have to do the 14 or 15 criteria already to get
Yeah.
just to do an ADU. And then if you trigger the limited site plan, this is what,
You have to do it.
because we'll go through the 15 things to get your ADU. Then the department heads will be looking at these things from their point of view, because they won't worry about, did they give us plans, did they do this, all the other 14 things previously, is it like 900 square feet? They don't need to look at that, because we've already vetted that for them. They just need to look at this section when it comes to them and their department specifically.
Okay, so you wanna have them. Yeah,
But
so like I
state-
said,
yeah,
So we
like,
could,
but like 7, you know, like I'd be careful about exterior alterations.
yeah, we can
You
get rid
know,
of that.
that's the same as 7, and I don't want, I just discourage having things twice,
Yeah,
'cause
So do we wanna,
so I'm just not sure how these fit in, actually. I can understand making sure they get done. But we have a lot of things in
You're
that
right.
other list that say if it's detached, you do this, if it's not, you know, so. I could see like E, notification be sent to the direct abutters. But it was just to think about, I'm not.
so on the lighting,
second.
so let's imagine a house, you know, a primary dwelling unit, and then they add on, so it's attached, and they go basically up to the limits of the setback.
So say RB, it's 15 feet.
Yeah, so it's 15 feet, whatever. We don't ask them to do anything with lighting, because I guess it's assumed that it's far enough away that it doesn't. So what's the difference if it's detached and it goes right up into the setbacks, which we said is okay, but now we want them to tell us about lighting? You see what I'm
Because it's a
saying?
new- Because it's a new building and we aren't going back to what was already in existence before we started restricting the lighting on buildings to stay within the lot.
But if you add it on, we don't make that requirement. Like if somehow the
Because-
layout of your lot, you know what I'm saying? So it's,
Repeat that.
so let's say you have a primary house, right? And
Yeah.
you add it on, let's say you added the ADU here.
Yeah.
And that ADU, it's within the setbacks for the rear and the back,
Right.
right? But it's added on. So according to this, we're not asking them to tell us anything about lighting, the building commissioner. But here, if the primary
Yeah.
was moved back a little
Yeah.
bit, and then I detached it,
Yeah.
I put it in the same location, in that corner,
Mhm.
with the setbacks, now all of a sudden, we want them to tell us about the lighting.
Yeah, so again,
We
it's
get rid of that.
it's taken too also from the limited site plan to a degree, because if you're attaching to a house,
Yeah.
there's already a house there, you know there's light penetration from there, you kinda got that, even if you're making it bigger, cause I could add on
But
to my.
you're adding on.
But I
So
could add
you're
on a
adding
huge
lights.
addition, but I could add, so ADU is 900 square feet,
Yeah,
I could add on 3,000 square feet to a house.
right,
If I just called an addition, put in 15 bedrooms or whatever,
Right.
not make an ADU. We don't require that. With a standalone ADU,
yeah,
honestly, people are going to push it back as far as, because they want to kind of, even the main dwelling is going to want privacy. So now you're putting another structure that's going to have lights on all the time, not just the primary. So you do want it if they're, because
but if it's within the setbacks, why do we need them to prove the lighting?
because honestly, I can speak personally from me. I have a neighbour who he goes out in his backyard to smoke every night, and I can get a suntan through the window, a kitchen window, for his light comes on, because he's these huge lights pointing over his deck.
Yeah.
And they come, and I've asked them, can you put a shroud on them?
Yeah.
So to that, like, if we're going limited site plan for standalone, neighbours are going to complain about lights. They already do most of the time. With it being, in my opinion, when you're added to a primary, I'm not as worried about the lighting that, because I can add a huge addition to my house without having to go through that. But now you're not asking for an accessory structure that's just a 2-bay garage, or you can go out and watch the game on Sundays out there. You're asking for an entire house being built there.
Yeah.
They can call it an ADU, but it's a house. You're going to have a family living there. You're going to have people. It's going to be a lot more activity in that house than it would be in your 2-bay garage as an accessory structure.
It's like a 24-hour.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it's
2 hours.
unnecessary regulation.
I personally would keep it, because again, that would be one of the questions I would
Because
ask.
you can
Like
still
I have a-
regulate lights on other structures.
Yeah.
I could
And,
kind
and
of
the
see,
other thing
issue
it says
is
shall not
It's a new
cast
light
a glare.
source.
Is that
Yeah, so-
quantifiable?
Yeah, so other towns have put in that you cannot illuminate your neighbour's property. So that would be the glare. So especially with new LED lights now, like you can get a bulb that's tiny and you get sunburnt off the thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are putting outside motion lights that are being triggered by either animals,
Yeah,
their
yeah.
pets.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're sitting there in your house looking at TV, and next thing the big light comes on, then it goes off, comes on. You can put shields on that to divert it down so it only illuminates your property.
I know I have neighbors who have exterior lights, and you can see them from the house on the other side.
I get it. I'm just wondering, like, can somebody say, well, you know, you said the bylaw says cast a glare, and they
Yeah.
will say, oh, I'm not. So I'm just saying, like,
I
can
think
you
that-
back that up
Yeah.
as a town? Like, you could say,
I think you
Here's-
could, that if you could go, like, again, say your neighbour rang on you
Yeah.
and said,
Okay,
hey,
so-
Sarah
so
has a lot.
Slightly different wording or something.
I just,
I would say that you can't cast that you can't, the all previous time we had said all illumination had to remain on your property.
yeah.
that seems more
That's
measurable.
That's typical to the site. plan and
Yeah.
everything, yeah.
Could that
I'm
just
just
be
looking
added
for like
to-
quantifiable,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
clear?
regulation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
We're
that-
not-
If
we're
we
not
put
asking
something
to
in that's gonna
submit
create
light-
more headache for us, we haven't really
Well,
done
language-
much.
Right, we're asking to obey what it essentially is. We're not saying you have to give us a plan that shows all your light is on this, you just have to do it.
yeah.
So if I read this literally though, you're saying it can't, and the light can't go on the
Adjacent
adjacent
property.
properties.
Yeah,
So
so,
that's
again,
measure-
it's
maybe
like that
that's
they're gonna
measure.
show us a plan and like, okay, we'll make sure the lights are down.
Yeah.
Thing gets built, we get a phone call, they're
Does
saying,
that make sense to add that just to the use regulation, or do we want that to have that specific for detached?
I keep it specific for detached,
Yeah,
just
okay.
for,
Yeah.
again, I get your point with detached, but you already have the light, everything emitting from there, and again, you can do a huge addition on without it, that's standard. But a detached standalone, if you have a garage or playhouse for your kids, no one's gonna be out there all hours of the night doing a standalone. There's a family living there, they could be staying up till 11, 12 o'clock at night, they're gonna have lights on,
The
they're gonna be.
light could
If
be,
the property
the
is
light from
very,
the
very
house could be
deep,
coming
you're
into the
gonna-
den.
I get
You
it,
don't want
it's
the light to
just
go into
the
the
same
bedroom.
thing if it were attached, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I know,
Well,
but
no.
I'm saying the attached too, because what if
The
the attached
angle
goes
of-
all the way to the back?
That's what I'm
And they have
saying.
a sensor light on, so when they pull in or something, or they
Yeah.
walk up the thing, the floodlights come on. The house out behind me, it doesn't bother, every time a car goes by,
Yeah.
the sensor goes off and his floodlight comes on, and it's kinda shines at my house, but I don't notice it in the summertime with the trees, but in the wintertime,
But
it
you
comes
could
on
do
every
it.
time a car goes by, so.
We could do as Patrick said, put in the original conditions, the first 14 or 15, and say any illumination cannot bleed onto the neighbour's property. And that will cover both
What was
attached
that?
and detached.
What was that language used from the other town? All illumination must be kept on.
Illumination has to be kept on the property.
Actually, but that covers, it says the exterior lighting of a, the ADU exterior lighting, so it's not
Exterior
specifying
attached.
detached or attached.
Yeah, but we said
We
this
have
one
this
is
under
only
limited.
for
This is under limited
detached.
site plan.
Oh.
Yeah,
Not
well,
like
this
necessary for
language right
detached.
here, we have it specific for detached. We could move this to the other use regulation, which is built for attached and detached, if
Yeah.
that's.
Yeah.
That would work.
I
But
think
again,
it's-
though, is that?
Because I
adding
get,
more
you know, we don't want them to
regulations?
violate
Like
the
you said,
setback.
Beyond restricting a house, we're just restricting the ADU, so that might be an issue.
I don't know, she
But this is a
so-
detached structure.
She put this on here though.
Yeah.
So town council put this on. So remember we had that listed. I mean, I'm just saying, maybe
Yeah.
chief thinks it's
Chief,
not
I'm guessing-
unreasonable, because
yeah.
we're allowed to do site plan review.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's
and-
where it kind of comes.
Yeah, just the perfect way I was actually trying to think
You
was,
could change
if this is in
shall
site
not
plan,
cast
that's why she can
shall not
use it in a
cast
limited site plan,
illumination onto
because it's a reasonable restriction that's already there. If we put into something that's not there, then that's not a reasonable restriction. So that's probably why town council put it there.
'Cause if
Okay.
we're
I do
allowed
prefer it
to
on
have
the
site plan-
standalone ADU, again, I do prefer it on a standalone ADU than a regular, if you attach it to the house.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter, I mean, if you had a light come on, if a detached or an attached, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, but again, this is my point, is what I believe is, I can do a 900 to 1200 square foot addition, not an ADU, and put all the lights I want on it, and there's no trigger for that.
Right.
Like, you can go back to
So
your
it would
house.
just be the spillage that you would,
Yeah.
Contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed you knocked out one of them. Did you
Yeah.
need to put that back in and strike it out or anything? I
No,
don't know what you
Because the whole section's.
The whole
The whole section's new.
Yep, yeah, thanks, John.
so do you think, like, Patrick, you said moving that into the use regulations then?
Well, no, that's what we're saying, it's,
I mean,
I think
No.
Patrick said town council put this here specifically
Yeah.
for limited, cause you can justify it through site plan, but if we put it as of right, there's nowhere else in the code that says that as of right.
or an as of right
So
use.
that's
An
not a
addition
reasonable
has to
restriction.
make sure all
Okay.
its lights are.
Yeah.
I would
makes sense.
accept that,
Yeah, cause that's why it's
Yeah.
not a
Yeah.
reasonable restriction.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a new building, it has
Yeah.
to meet current stuff.
Yep.
All kinds of
Especially,
things.
yeah, if it goes through limited site plan review, why does it do that? There's
Yeah.
a few, besides, going through,
Well, I knew it was
health, or
site
going
plan.
through sewer and water for those things.
Yeah.
This is one of those things to look at, it's like, alright,
Mhm.
do you have exterior lighting, is it down lighting,
Yeah.
you know?
Limited site plan.
That's kind of a
Okay,
crazy- See?
C,
See,
exterior decks, patios shall be located so as to not intrude upon or generate excessive noise of adjoining properties. My question concerns the size of exterior decks.
yep,
With limiting it to 900 square feet of,
If it's not covered, no.
It doesn't cover
No,
those.
it
that doesn't
cover
cover
decks.
decks.
No,
So-
or patios.
What's to prevent someone with a 30 by 30 house adding a 30 by 20 deck behind it?
Nothing.
yeah.
So you're basically doubling your ADU for summer months.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, see,
You'll
that's
have a
what,
barbecue out there, you'll have TV out there, whatever.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah, it's
Nothing's preventing you
increasing,
from
that's
Lucky them.
going against the 900 square foot.
Well, but they can't be out there.
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
they
John,
can't live
that's
there.
what I was,
Right, they
that was-
can't, but.
Because we wanna limit that.
that's what I was,
How can you? I
I don't
don't
know
leaning
how
to
you can if you-
earlier
you
when I
don't limit
said
for
the maximum
regular homes, you
lot
really can't
coverage
limit
of
for
the
this.
ADU
Yeah.
with like a deck or anything like that.
So
you know,
that's
but
it,
He
it's-
said, once you put a roof over it,
It's
then
different.
it's a different story.
right.
If
But
you
it-
just had a deck or a patio.
But if it's a deck or patio,
It doesn't,
there's nowhere else in our zoning, again, reasonable
Yeah,
restrictions,
straight.
it doesn't state like anybody in their home can build on a huge deck if they want. There's no restrictions beside the setbacks. So if it's not anywhere else in our zoning, we can't limit the size of the deck, cause now, again, it's not a reasonable restriction, cause it's nowhere else in our zoning, unfortunately.
Is the deck and patio included in lot coverage?
Yes,
yes.
Yeah.
I would-
So
But
you
again-
would be limited to that.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
But again,
Unless
unless
you
it's
had
a
5
fairly
acres in
small
it.
lot, adding another 600 square feet of lot coverage isn't gonna be a big issue. But it's a huge addition to a 900 square foot ADU.
Right.
But our people, it's hard to know what people might do, that's a,
True,
It has to
but
be
it's something we have to
Yeah,
think
it-
about.
you know.
yeah.
We wanna try to cover as many bases.
well, that's it, like,
as
you,
we
Yeah.
can,
you
It has
can
to
add
be-
an ADU, you could add a patio, so say, even if you restricted a deck, a patio has 0 laws. Patio has no setbacks, has no
What
nothing,
about lot coverage,
depending on what you use.
If it's
If
impervious.
it's impervious or pervious, it depends, so if you do a pervious patio, then there's not, you can put a patio right up to the property line, so I can go right up to your fence. There is no law for that.
I thought there was a reduction, but I didn't think it was all the way up to the property line,
That's for decks.
just for decks.
So decks
Oh,
can,
yeah.
decks can go into 4 feet into the setback. Patios, it's ground level, So you can't stop it from growing.
Stairs can be up into the property line though, right?
The deck can go 4 feet in, and then you can do stairs past that again.
Yeah.
For egress,
Yeah.
for the primary, it's primary or secondary egress.
Okay.
But if you were to put a roof on it in a regular house, and you were 4 feet into your setback, your roof has to stop at the property line.
Yep.
The deck can go 4 feet.
Huh.
So you get nice little farmers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think then notification, we just have to
Yeah.
check with Caroline on across the road.
Yeah, I just put the language that she kind of had
Yeah.
recommended, but we can I have it written down as a note to talk there.
We skipped over A,
Yep.
the parking.
Yep.
Where did we come up with the 15 feet?
Curious,
Oh, she just threw that in there, so we probably,
I think she went with the 15 feet for, it's
Ah,
probably one of her smallest setbacks.
Well, there's 10
There's
feet.
10.
There's
in
10
the-
in
the
GR.
GR,
Yeah.
The GR, you're not gonna get a lot of complaints.
you could put 10
10
feet
feet.
if that's the minimum. So any parking should have 10 feet of the property line. Well,
That's
because
weird.
parking is, I mean, it's not a structure, so it's not
No,
a matter.
I
Right.
think we talked about, because we went back and forth last week about the buffer zone.
Yeah.
That is allowed so that if you have a car back there,
Yeah,
you don't want to be driving in and fighting the lights with
Yeah.
your neighbour.
got it.
That you kind of want to break, because again, if I'm building an ADU on my property,
Mhm.
I'm going to wedge it as close as I can to my poor neighbour, so I don't have to put up, and that's what I think most people will do. If I have a choice, I'm going to rent a property, do I keep it with my main house, or do I shove it as far away as I can and worry about the neighbour?
Well, the
having to deal with
further
it?
you put it away from the primary unit, the more expensive it is to get the pipes and the electric, right? And the
That
utilities.
depends where it
Well,
comes
this
in
is-
from.
Once you start digging.
This
it's
is
like-
just for
You think so?
parking,
Really?
really.
Yeah.
So I
Oh,
mean,
it
this
is?
is, some people
Yeah,
have,
It's not more expensive, but not,
most
Not
people
major.
are probably gonna have their
unless you
parking
hit
with the
ledges
ADU,
something.
Yeah.
just using the existing driveway, to be perfectly honest. And if they do like a little section
road
for
or
it, it's
something.
probably
Yeah.
just gonna be right off the driveway.
Yeah.
But if
I
your
think-
driveway is close to a neighbor's
Yeah.
property, that might be.
Yeah, I think that's why
problematic.
Carolyn put this in, it just gives us that coverage
Yeah.
in case
Mhm.
someone does and act like me
Yeah.
and shove it as far away as I can. That we can protect the neighbour from people like me going, I'm gonna wedge it over there.
Hmm.
Okay.
Pat, it looks like there's a double space in front of shall.
Yep.
Fence or 3-foot high vegetated buffer. I suppose that's reasonable. I mean, 15 feet is pretty close. Like, if you have to go,
Yeah.
It's less than this
That's
road.
only, yeah, only.
But
Yeah.
then again, you can do that by right anyways, for your cars, you can park your
Yeah.
cars.
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
next to
Well, we could have screening for like the deck of the porch if it's
On that
within the
side.
15 feet also,
Yeah.
you know?
it. And your limit,
Can we
if
do
it's,
that?
well, outdoor
Well, that could-
storage
that's what we-
areas,
that's kind of-
not
That-
structures.
What she kind of put in there just for parking outdoor storage or areas. That's kind of what she's giving us, so when they come for the limited site plan, we get to look at where they are placing it, and we can say,
but
okay,
outdoor storage, you wouldn't include a deck.
we could add, no, I'm saying we could add that to it,
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
outdoor storage or,
deck or patio.
Well, you already have any exterior decks or patio shall be located so as not to intrude upon, so you
Mhm.
already have it there.
Yeah, but not,
The issue is just how big a deck to
Yeah.
consider. to
Well,
be
if it goes
intrude.
in, if it's within the 15 feet of the setback, right?
well, 15 feet is the minimum, but like if you're in RA, you're 20 feet away, so the thing can't go any closer, well, it can go 4 feet into that setback, so you
The
get to
deck could?
6, yeah,
So that would be
16
16
feet.
feet.
yeah. So anyway, that would affect any place will
So give the
be,
extra foot.
yeah. I think what we'll see a lot of, if they come to fruition, a lot of these will be actually in the GR area, because our GR area doesn't work. So we've got a lot of lots with single family homes that can't do 2-family, so I can see a lot of them coming in if they can get the setbacks to put this in the GR areas.
and then in this section, limited site plan review.
Yep.
do we wanna have a heading like,
That should be bold, by the way.
Yeah.
use and regulations or something, or we just write that and then start listing
So.
design criteria,
yeah,
like some kind of heading to say what
Yeah.
we're talking about?
Well, no, I think they apply.
Storage.
Well, I think they because
Or
C
no.
covers with the
Overlap
decks.
with the-
You see what
these
covers with the
A
decks.
little
requirements
bit.
and the other one, but I don't, it's not a big deal for me, yeah. Yeah.
Also, do we wanna kind of?
So it just says,
Through is-
we'll
we're gonna be handling that.
we'll ensure compliance with the following requirements.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have a.
Yeah. But that really doesn't say anything about the.
I don't know, the title just doesn't seem to
No, cause C is pretty
flow
good with
or.
the exterior deck and patio
The-
shall not be located to intrude.
That sentence before
It
the
says no to the
requirements.
adjoining property.
No, just the, like, number 3, limited
it
site
doesn't
plan
say-
review,
Yeah.
like, I think it should say
If we
like
added it,
But we can add that as.
detached
site plan.
ADUs or
We
something,
can add
and then
that.
say
would you have
like
anything to stand on though, to say that?
Yeah,
that those,
Just what-
these are
Oh.
the additional
I was just saying
requirements.
If you had it in A,
Yeah,
that's
that might be
right
a
there
good
in
idea,
A.
just so they
Yeah.
don't think this is
Yeah,
limited site
got
plan,
it.
someone runs into.
Do you know what I mean?
So limited site plan review for detached.
For detached ADUs.
Well, I think the intent is to outline additional requirements
Although I'm not sure why then they wouldn't be in that other section.
for detached,
yeah.
because it doesn't apply to the,
Well, could we,
Attached.
we already have them mixed
Well, the lighting,
together.
the lighting.
Oh, okay.
No,
Limited
that's-
site
No,
plan
we're-
review
we're
is
keeping it.
flat.
well, so it's kind of in the first
Additional-
line.
Yeah, but the lighting would be with the,
and I'm just saying that,
Requirements for detached
With the
ADUs.
So
Attached.
these, why these aren't in the other one though, Phil,
Right.
because it's kinda hard,
Hmm?
the lighting, see?
you really kinda need to review
yeah,
A B,
we're
yeah,
gonna, we're
fencing
gonna keep it
and
only for this
screening,
one.
you can't just be like, there'll be fencing and screening,
That's what he said.
where it's.
Yeah, you can't.
This
move
is
the
kinda
other
like they
one.
need to have a little bit more of a
Yeah,
look at
because
it.
we
I think it should be a
delete
folder.
these off of full site plan, which is in it.
Okay.
We can't
Yeah.
put them into this just a blanket standard because there's nothing right now in our standard zoning, so that's where the reasonable comes in. It might seem reasonable,
Right.
but you have to show that you can do it, that you're already enforcing it that from somewhere else.
Yeah, no, I have no problem with that, it was more, it just seemed to overlap the section on use and regulations.
Yeah,
Because use and
slightly.
regulations has things that apply to both
Yeah.
detached and
And
attached.
Right.
And I wasn't sure why this just doesn't have more, or maybe have, I don't know, anyways, that was just a-
Something referencing that's only for
Yeah.
detached.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure how,
That's reasonable,
you know,
yeah.
any parking
Yeah.
or outdoor storage, you know, it has, you know, within 15 feet, I wasn't sure why that's different than not having it under the use regulations in section 3. You know, but I don't wanna, you know, it's not an important thing for me, and
I see what you're
clearly
saying
you're
now.
seeing,
No, I-
Yeah.
you're seeing a need for the difference, so.
No, I can see that, again, I go to either, the other 15 categories are for both as a starting gate, but
Mhm.
then this is specifically.
But we
just-
already mixed them both
Yeah,
in section 3.
on some of them, yeah.
Yeah, some of them we do, yeah. So, I mean, if you wanted to organize it differently, you might say, under section 3, these are the ones that apply just to detached, and these are ones that
Yeah.
apply to both. You know, then organize
Well,
it
or
that
just
way.
for-
But I, you know,
limited
again,
site plan
not looking to make a
review
major change here,
for
but we need to
detached
move it on.
ADUs.
Yeah. We do need to move it on, so.
Yeah, to specify, this is a limited site
Yeah.
plan just for them, doesn't
But
mean
you're-
anything to any other limited site plan, it's just for accelerated.
But you're gonna look at all the others too, when you do
Yeah.
the site, you know, the
Yeah, like
limited
that's
site
what I'm
plan, it
saying.
won't just be these
They'll
things.
apply for the permit.
Yeah.
And we'll go through everything and
Yeah.
then we'll say, okay, you trigger limited site plan, and we'll have all the previous stuff already ticked off to
Yeah.
get to that.
But like I said, some of the things in the prior thing are also only applied to, but it's like I said, not a big deal. We could, that might be something we
Well,
look
they're
at
covering
longer
this,
another time.
both types,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
Yeah.
whereas this
So I
is
do have
just
another question though,
focusing on-
which I could hold off on.
No.
I think we should finish the comments on this first.
Yeah.
Yes.
My question is something more general about ADUs.
Yeah.
And how to interpret something.
Okay.
So, Patrick, back to A, right there.
Yeah.
For the screening, you
Yeah.
think we could add, say, go parking, comma, decks, comma, patios, and outdoor storage associated with the ADU? And I think that would help a lot. with,
So any parking decks.
with number C too.
But now, would that be
You know,
considered to be unusually
keeping the
restrictive,
nurse-
because we don't restrict it anywhere else?
Well, it's only if it's within 15 feet.
Yeah, but we're
But-
not restricting it, well,
But we don't restrict,
nothing can get
If
within
you have a
15
patio-
feet except accessory buildings anyways.
yeah, but just like, normally you can do a patio anywhere.
Well,
It's a fine line.
So-
Well, I know, but
Mhm.
if you
It's
did
kind of a
that
fine
and you
line,
had the
because
screening,
both
it would
site
help
plan review,
to
they're allowed to do site
enforce,
plan review, all these
I
other things
think,
you would
B and C.
look at, right?
I'm just wondering though, because you don't need that.
Like
If
say
you-
it's a-
if
say
you
it's
just
a-
had a house, you put
you
a
know,
a patio anywhere in your yard,
Yeah.
there's no requirement for screening or
Yeah, we
anything.
have
Well, I know.
requirements.
But
we
I
have
talk about-
requirements
but we're
to
talking about
review the
ADUs.
landscape.
Yeah, but it might be looked upon as being
So, all
unusual,
this
you know,
out, and
unreasonably
it's
restrictive,
treated
that's all,
not
that's,
just
Mhm.
as
that would be
a
my
single
only
family
question
home,
about,
treated as a
you know, the
new-
care of
I don't
not,
know.
in doing something that otherwise would be required.
Yeah. So-
I mean, maybe it's a question for a legal counsel, to see if that passes muster, you know? But then you get into also
Oh, that's-
enforcement, if you're
yeah.
doing a patio, and there's an ADU, and the main house, I'm doing the patio for the main house, even though it happens to be near the,
Right.
you know, the ADU, right? Because I have a patio way in my backyard that's very close to the line, and it, you know, you could argue that, well, why did I put it way back there? Well, we wanted to, yeah.
'Cause you
You know,
can.
so,
We try putting that in and see what council says, or what do you think? I mean, Jim's the one that has to enforce this.
yeah, no, I mean, I would
And
defer
I just
to
thought it
Jim.
might help with him to enforce
Yeah,
both B and C.
yeah.
But I think Phil's right, if we're not restricting the location of decks otherwise, it's gonna be difficult for us to say that we need to restrict it here.
And you could just say, like I said, you could say, well, that patio's not for the ADU, it's for my
Yeah.
primary house. You know, and like I
Yeah,
said,
for
I
your
have a
house, you don't
patio,
have any-
I have a patio 200 feet behind my house.
Do you?
Okay,
Yeah, no,
so,
deck will
and
be-
it's on the line. I mean,
a
a couple feet away, but
Yeah.
4 feet away maybe, but it's within,
It's close.
Like you
it's
said,
close,
could go
yeah.
3
And
feet,
my neighbor has no
4
problem with it, we don't use it very much, so it's landscape, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyways,
What, I can go, anything else?
I did have one more
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure I'm interpreting one thing with the dimensional rules here.
Yep.
So in our dimensional regulations,
Okay.
and this, it's the note 4, you may know about it. So if you're in residential zones and someone wants to do an accessory building 400 feet from the front,
Yep.
they're allowed to be within 6 feet as long
Yes.
as they're not more than 15 feet high.
It's
Yes.
22 feet by 24 feet, not more than 15 foot high. And if you have 100 feet off the front, you can go within 6 feet of the side.
Okay, but you can't now do accessory dwelling unit
In
within
that,
that.
no,
in
because
that.
now you're creating a non-conforming.
Oh, okay, because they're not allowed within 6 feet no matter how far back
So
they are.
Because you're sleeping
Correct.
or,
So if you go to the definition of accessory, so accessory structure is weird, we have it in those footnotes, we have it
Yeah.
under page 108, I believe. We also have in definitions, and part of it is an accessory structure cannot have sleeping or cooking in it.
Okay, so it cannot be accessory, okay, I just want to make sure I understood that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
kind of a
'cause
nice-
I could see somebody doing
Yeah.
it 15 feet and 6 feet, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing, is how
Yeah.
we do it. By so again, that's the use, the ADU is a use.
Right.
And if you put that use where it's not allowed, now you create a violation.
You can't, and you can't.
Yeah, you've created a
can't
non,
do-
so yeah.
And that's
you
where you,
can't ask for
and that's
it.
where you would come in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and if they go, well, I'm gonna go for variance for it, you can't, because that's a use variance, which 90% of towns in Massachusetts don't allow use variances. There's very few that allow them.
We don't allow.
No.
We know,
We don't.
most, the only one I know of,
Harwich.
Harwich, allows them.
Uh-huh.
And that's just, we were actually helping a friend of ours with it, and there was an absolute bomb down there,
Yeah,
like they just stuck.
It's a horrible idea. to
Yeah.
have
Yeah,
a
yeah,
lot of use
yeah.
variances.
It's like I could go for use variance, build a factory beside your house.
Yeah.
If I pay the right people off, I'm getting it.
Yeah.
So like,
Wow.
that's the fear of it.
Yeah.
So that's why most towns don't go for that, a variance for a use.
Yeah.
So we were gonna leave it up to Caroline to determine what the director bodies including process.
Yep, yeah, I have that written down. Is anything else from the limited site plan review? Any questions? So I have one question I kinda wanna bring up with everybody, so accessory dwelling units that are detached from the principal dwelling unit and shall be subject to the limited site plan review as provided under section 13.6 of this bylaw. Is that confusing anything, cause we're not writing making changes to section 13?
Well, I still find section 13, 16 a little bit strange, because it says you have to then look at section 7, which is the
Yeah.
approved site replan, and then
Yeah.
it says you have to get a waiver for doing all those things.
Yeah, but we're saying,
So it makes,
as provided under that, but we're saying the following requirements. We're saying. don't
no,
look at
but
those.
provided, as provided, but you're saying,
And shall,
do
not
the site, do the limited site plan review as provided under
Shall
section
tell the
13.6. If you look at 13.6, it says you have to comply with
Yeah.
all the requirements in 13.7 unless you get a waiver.
Yeah.
And we've
So-
already
So
said
that would
that
happen, so when they apply for the,
if
Yeah.
there's a discrepancy, this bylaw takes preference.
yeah,
And
so,
we're saying this is going for this.
yeah, so then when someone applies for, again, same with limited site plan, when you apply for a limited site plan, the waiver you're requiring is, we cut out what we send you, yeah, you're gonna need this for the meeting, this, and this.
But
And
do
you
they
can
have
waive
to
the rest.
physically say, I need a waiver, I don't wanna give 9 copies of the plan. I need a waiver because I don't wanna have, there's a whole list of things, right?
No, they just say, apply for limited site plan and request all waivers as needed.
Oh, okay, okay.
And then we
And then you
cherry
would just
pick
do that.
one,
So,
'cause-
but it's just another little step.
Yeah.
It just seemed contradictory to me to have it, the
Yeah.
limited site plan review and then say go to.
Yeah, cause honestly, if
food
you
type
take that
review.
out, then you're doing,
You're not, so.
now you're trying to narrow it down to, and it's its own kind of separate thing.
Yeah.
I'd rather leave it with a more open window, so we can say, yeah, we'll give you the waivers for these, cause they're not required for this,
Yeah,
but it still gives us the power with the limited site plan.
yeah. No, and I think it's good to do the
Yeah.
limited site plan review.
So it's fine.
In
I
the
think
way
it's
we're
fine.
doing
Okay.
it.
Ed had a point though on,
Which one?
Go ahead.
on D. Ed was saying, notification shall be to abutters immediately adjoining. He was saying, could it be a certified
Okay.
So
notification?
notification by certified mail?
Yeah.
Because if I read that otherwise, I'd say, oh, I'll just go knock on doors and
Yeah.
tell my abutters, hey, I'm
Yeah.
doing this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but when you turn with a black eye, you can tell them to notify you.
I might not get back on the line.
Okay.
Well, Patrick, thank you for doing all
Yeah.
the work and staying with us, and Jim too, yeah.
I know. So,
A lot of hours you both
So-
are spending on this.
No, yeah, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
I think when we mentioned even like the first or second meeting, it's a little bit daunting, cause, this is step one of how many other, at least 2 or 3 other phases, and it's a lot to go through, and
Yeah.
as Sarah mentioned too, we find those little things, we're like, well, we can't forget that, cause that's gonna come back up again.
Yeah.
But this one is, like as you mentioned, we wanna be able to have something in place just in the off chance it turns, February 3rd,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden, we're not protected by somebody coming in and they wanna just do a detached ADU, or we have no other regulations,
Yeah.
so, we'll, if we find out from HLC, if they have any guidelines, that will kind of also, that could either be a good thing or a bad thing,
Yeah.
but we can't really do
We can
anything
tweak.
about it.
Yeah, at least we've something to protect ourselves. Again,
Yeah.
I guarantee we'll write this pretty good. Someone's gonna find a loophole somewhere. That's the fun of zoning.
well, I mean,
Yeah.
And then we'll, at least then, but we can still at least change it, and then if as Patrick said, if the state come back with some clarity on some things, we can tweak it again.
well, look at us, I told my wife, I said, oh, it shouldn't be long, we covered everything pretty close last
Yeah.
meeting. Look what we've done tonight, so I think, I'm just thinking, we could go back next week and.
Yeah,
go
we can
through
do
the
it
same
again,
thing
we can go another 3
I
hours.
told my wife, we won't be here very long.
Yeah, it's just one article.
I told her about
So-
an hour, but then I said, don't count on it.
Yeah.
So, Patrick, I just wanted, you sent us out right at the beginning, that thing, other items for the committee's consideration. It was like, I think you sent it out, right?
Show me.
Well, I put some.
Yeah,
notes
yeah,
in
that
there.
one, yep.
So you sent that out, and I just had notes on all of them, so.
Yeah.
Number 2 was to allow more than one ADU. We did not do that, so we are only allowing one, correct? And then the second one was existing ADUs or in-law apartments, would they be allowed to be considered an ADU? Well, I would think so, as long as they conform, they would have to conform, so you would have to go back out and do it again?
Yeah, and so that's the way it goes, is
So-
So if we had an attached in-law apartment right now,
yeah,
can that be considered an ADU?
no. It depends if it meets criteria.
It's the criteria.
Right, so like I said, as long as it conforms to
Yeah,
our current bylaw,
Yeah.
it could be, so that would be okay, right? And then, do we want to allow it any larger than 900 square feet? I said no. on that one, and then it said reasonable regulations related to water and sewer. Well, that's gonna be through them anyways,
Yeah.
right, through the water, sewer, the Board of Health, right? And do you wanna include landscaping, screening, and any new parking related to it? And I said screening, yes, garage, no.
Yeah.
So we tried to get some
We did go
screening.
over these too, though, I'm just kind of bringing up the comments.
Yeah.
From the first meeting. Yep.
And then, what was it, so the setbacks are gonna be as a principal dwelling,
Mm-hmm.
right, okay? And, then, let's see, plus accessory, so accessory structures, we didn't really talk about that, right?
We
If you
talked
could
a
have
lot about it.
Huh?
We talked a lot about it.
Yeah,
Oh,
a
like
sec-
accessory to
a
the
second-
accessory? We
Quantity?
said no.
Well, yeah, but that was attached to the building like a garage. Now, are you gonna allow a shed? No, what is the minimum size shed you can put in without a permit? Or do you need one?
200 square feet
200 square feet?
is allowed without a
Huge.
So
permit.
20 by 10?
But they have to apply by our zoning. You still have to apply by the zoning at 10 and 6, and again, it doesn't need a building permit, but zoning says you can't have sleeping or cooking again in an accessory.
Right.
So even though you don't need a permit, permits building code under 7A CMR, zonings under 40A. So that's the thing, so even though we don't require a permit for anything up to 200 square feet, if it's and it does say a shed or storage and state law. So if I done, say, a pool house, and I done under 200 square feet, you do require a permit for that because you're building a bar in there, you're having a shower or bathroom put in there. That's different. The 200 square feet is only allowed for storage sheds, which obviously an ADU is not. So we're covered that way. I think our zoning with the accessory covers us with the setbacks too, and especially with that caveat that says in the accessory that no sleeping or cooking is allowed in them. I think that protects us very well. Because again, if they do it, they have created a non-conform. They made something that's conforming to a non-conforming use, and that even I could win that one in court. That's easy. I'm not worried. I'm not worried about that one.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
2 quick questions, not really about zoning, but Jim, do you have a fee for doing limited site plan? Like, is that worked out?
No,
We
because
should,
limited site plan, because it's not a
See-
board or they're not advertising.
so the applicant doesn't pay an extra fee for that?
For limited site plan, no, that's
Oh,
part of our
really?
job.
Like building permits.
You like
Yeah.
that, huh?
Well, I don't know, I would
No, there's no
expect
fee to it.
that there would be.
Because, not really, because think about, it's, you apply for, we do it during the day, so we get
Yeah.
all department heads together during
Yeah,
the
yeah.
day, which is our job to be here during the day, so.
Yeah, I know, but it's extra
There's no
work.
fee.
Okay, and then within the permitting, whatever you
Mhm.
have, it's counting the housing units? So is that automatically, like, are we keeping track of how many housing units we're adding?
Yeah,
Like
no,
through the ADU?
yeah, so we
Okay.
have, so, let's see if I can bring it up on this, just to give you a quick,
Like 5 years from now, if we say, hey, Jim, how many ADUs did we add?
I can tell you in less than 2 minutes.
Okay,
Yeah,
So-
no,
Just
our system,
curious,
because
yeah.
if you look in our system, just to give you an example, is, you apply for permits.
mhm,
We have permits, so BR is building residential, BC is building commercial. We've broken down to swimming pools, we have different criteria.
okay.
Right now, if you go to, can I,
Yeah.
you go to Walpole, the town website, just to show you what you can.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I don't wanna
Oh, no.
waste time, I'm just curious. So,
Well,
yeah, that's, we don't have to waste our time
Right.
here.
That brings up another point too.
You can
So,
break the computer, it's terrible.
Patrick, are these units gonna count towards our affordable housing?
No.
No, they're gonna count against it.
It's gonna count
Well,
as a
that's
housing
what I
unit.
meant.
Because
Yes.
they're not
It would
affordable.
only
Yeah.
be
That's what I
affordable.
It's
actually meant.
increasing
Right.
the housing stock.
Right.
But not
So that's
having-
gonna lower our,
Yeah.
our rating at 10%
Slightly,
rating.
yeah.
So
So
maybe
any of
if we
that-
left the word
Yeah.
affordable in there,
No.
it would have counted?
No,
We'd have
because
to-
they're not
You can't, you
affordable.
can't
No, they won't.
regulate
They'd have to
it.
regulate it the same way you regulate,
Yeah. 'Cause the whole
like
intent of it
inclusionary
is-
zoning bylaw. It has to be done a specific way, so you can record the units, so that's like a lottery process, a regulatory agreement.
Yeah, we don't want all that.
So when you apply, just to show you, when you apply
Yeah.
for a permit, we have express, which are roofing, siding,
Uh-huh,
commercial, residential, and then we actually have an ADU permit.
okay,
So every ADU will get a number every
It's
time it's
counted,
done. So if
okay.
you come in 10 years,
yeah,
I can pull you up a report and print it out and show you not only how many ADUs, when they were built and what years were a lot and then there was none, we can show you a whole graph on it as well, so I can pull any requirements through this very easily.
We might, I don't know, like recommend to the select board to review the numbers after 5 years, just.
Well,
Yeah.
well,
Like-
to go, because we made the
Assess.
ADU, so we changed, obviously when we changed the in-law to well, the select board and Patrick changed the in-law to ADUs from in-law to ADU and made it as of right, everybody was like, oh, depending on the fear mongering, ADUs are gonna flood the
Right,
thing.
and it did,
We've 3,
yeah, exactly.
that's it.
But also look at the cost of living right now. I mean,
That was a year and a half ago.
It was
ADUs?
last,
We
Last
made
fall?
took the instead of going for a special permit to the zoning board, we made it under ADU as of right. We've had 3 since we done that.
and so
Still
even.
really
e- e-
expensive.
I know, and even before that, we had, I think the in-law.
Yeah, 'cause you have to
bylaw
build it,
was
It's
yeah.
like building a new
Yeah.
house,
Yeah.
I mean,
less.
it's really
I think it was,
expensive.
6 a year we're
6 a
averaging.
year, yeah, we were averaging with the
And it
in-law.
was probably, I don't know, you may have had like 40 something of them.
Yeah, I think it was 46 or 7 that we
Yeah.
had.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I mean.
But yeah, we can track it pretty good with our system.
yeah, okay.
And that's what we like about this too, we've 99% of the town on board with us, so again, like, cause like restaurants come in, the health department click on, the select board for the licensing click on, so we is set, so most, and it helps the developers and homeowners as well, because
Yeah.
instead of the homeowners coming in now with a piece of paper, having to go to, say, conservation, hoping land is, hoping that engineering's in, hoping that running across the fire,
Yeah.
they just send everything to us,
Yeah.
and we send it to everybody through the portal, so everybody can jump on it straight away. And when they respond, instead of them responding to us and then we ring in the person, the emails actually go directly to the applicant. So I might even have seen it yet, and the fire code officer said, hey, you need to do this, this, and this, and they're already ahead of it.
Yeah, that's
So
good,
we
yeah.
can track it pretty good.
But I know we're kind of wrapping up. If anyone has any of the comments that they go through this, so just let me know. That goes for everything that's been sent out. So what's gonna happen now is, the edits from the last 4 sections that we had comments for and from, I sent those off to Carolyn for an additional review. If I hear anything back, I will send out those to y'all again, just for, again, you can take a look at those. The floodplain one, again, we don't have to go over right now, but as soon as I hear anything from DCR and he's like, yep, that's all good, I'll send that out to you as well. And, section 7, which is another one that I threw in, that was the sign bylaw. Did not make substantial changes to that, only because, as Carolyn said, it was pretty much fine. It was just a few minor changes that I didn't think everyone has said. I think there's copies of them over there, but they were all sent to you all before as
Yeah.
well. If you have
That
any
was
questions
That
on
was the
those.
parking one, right?
What was it?
Signs.
Signs.
The sign one,
Signs,
sign
yeah,
one,
yeah, yeah,
sign
yep,
one,
yeah.
sign.
Parking one's gonna need to go.
Yeah, no, sign one, yeah, no,
Yeah. But yeah, that, and then, like I said, I'll make changes to this, I'll send it off to Carolyn, and, I'll send that version that I sent off to Carolyn to you all as well, but as soon as I hear something back from her, I'll just let you know.
So will you present this to the select board too?
Yeah, I mean,
Is
the
that- is that how that works?
the thinking right
Okay.
now, I mean, right now we're getting to the holiday season, so it's gonna be, I don't know what their meeting schedule is like, but I think the plan was at least
There's 2 in December,
2 in December, 2 in January.
there's 2 in January, but the second one in January is the 21st.
Yeah.
Which is the night they close the warrant
I
articles.
think ideally in 2 meetings with the select board, one to introduce why I'm
Yeah.
here and what the committee's been working on, and then also to wrap up any questions
Yeah.
and see if they'd sponsor, so.
Yeah, and then, cause we need to get it sponsored by close of article on the 21st.
Yeah.
And then we'll send it out to planning board FinCom to organise public meeting, cause once, that's what puts the safeguard on your warrant article. Once the boards send out their public meeting record, then it comes into effect, basically.
Yeah.
Even-
Then they can't get dodge around it.
Yeah, then we can actually use it, because it's on record, so we can,
You mean it's effective that day?
so it's,
Or-
once you get
We can't
the warrant article
necessarily
accepted,
enforce it,
and
but we
then
can
the
go back
board
and
send it out for
say
public,
it's
that's
associated.
when, because I used to believe it got in effect when it was voted in a town meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
But
yeah.
council was,
I thought it was once it got put on the agenda, or whatever, not the agenda, but.
the warrant article.
Once the
Yeah.
article is filed.
That's when it clicks in, the 21st of January it kicks in.
I think
And you
it's
can do it,
first-
but-
First notification for the public hearing.
Yeah, it's when it tricks it,
That's
yeah.
what I see.
Yeah.
Is that to protect so people don't take advantage of it.
Yeah,
So
they
we
see
know
it
this-
happening,
this
they
is
say,
Yeah.
oh, I got,
what we're doing.
I'm doing this before
Yeah.
it's done.
Yeah.
That's to
Okay.
prevent, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
to
then
prevent-
obviously,
Developers
guys know.
jumping in and
yeah,
Yeah.
saying,
Yeah.
no, I'm gonna do this first before you change, you vote.
Change anything, yeah.
yeah.
No, it's already there, you can't
Yep.
avoid it now, yeah.
Well, I'm gonna bring this up at the planning board again, I would love to see the planning board do something before the hearing, but we'll see what happens.
You know, whatever they want it, whatever you guys
Yeah.
wanna do,
So,
if you don't
yeah.
wanna sponsor, but you wanna have a discussion
So
about it
I-
beforehand, I can do that as well.
Yeah, I just wanna make that
Yeah.
offer, I think it's just, if people have comments, it's good to have them as early as possible, just to,
Yeah,
you know.
it's on
so-
the next schedule. hearing.
They don't have to sponsor, but they have to hold the public.
They have to have their whole,
legally
yeah.
hold the hearing.
And there's
You have to
no,
hold
They don't
the
think-
hearing.
no one argues that, it's more, I was just trying to get, the presentation to the planning board earlier than the public hearing.
I know you guys have a very busy
Well-
meeting in December, don't you?
Yeah, we just have one meeting in December, one meeting in January,
It's got
Yeah.
some-
So, yeah, you could, we
Yeah.
could, like, we can do it to the
so.
zoning board, or the select board once or twice, and then they could present it on the 16th, I believe, is January.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, January,
Rather
yeah.
Yeah,
late.
planning board.
Yeah,
Yeah.
planning board, yeah,
We could request time to present it then,
yeah.
Yeah.
that's the 16th,
Mhm.
January.
Whatever you guys
And that would be up to
want,
the-
I-
that would be up to the board.
Yeah,
Dates.
right
Yeah.
now, my plan is, gonna report to the select board and obviously see if I can meet with them twice, but I'd be happy
Yeah.
to meet with the planning board as well.
Yeah,
Whatever.
yeah, thank you for that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
I don't know if
Aye.
anybody's, I saw it in the paper.